Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 4 of what Naruto was in Kenichi the Mightiest disciple. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. The party was kicking off brilliantly, with Siegfried showing off some magic tricks, and Yukita hogging the food. Naruto and Kasara were talking as everyone was laughing and having a good time. So, you are all healed. No more bruises. Kasara nodded, smiling as she drank her soda. Yeah, I have even trained myself into the ground last couple nights, trying to get even better so if Freya shows up again I can take her on with at least a chance of victory. Miu smiled at that. And I have every hope you are. As martial artists we should never abandon our training just because we might lose. Takeda looked over to Miu. Didn't stop me either. Even after getting my arm back and training I still fought Kasara, even if I did lose. Kasara smiled at that. Hey, don't sell yourself short. You gave me a bruise with that last punch. I have no doubt my cheek was smoking from the hit. Takeda grinned nervously. Well, I do, but thanks Kasara. Glad to know you don't hate me for it. He turned to Yukita as he grabbed his food. Hey, give that back. Yukita grinned as he started trying to eat Takeda's appetizers. Finders keepers Takeda, you can't be leaving warm food to get cold. Naruto smiled brightly at that and Miu noticed. She smiled as well. Seems to me our party is going well. Think it will be ruined by Ragnarok. Naruto hummed at that. Probably, but we better assume they are smarter than that. If anything they may be waiting to ambush us away from a public spectacle. Siegfried stood up. Berserker is not one to plan out an ambush, but it is not totally unlikely they would think of that. Berserker has always been one to just go in and fight, regardless of collateral damage. Naruto looked as Siegfried started going around the table to leave. Leaving already? But we only just got here half an hour ago. Siegfried smiled as he bowed. As much as I would love to enjoy your company further, I have a concert to prepare for tomorrow. It would be best for me to be well rested for it. Nijima smiled as he came up to Siegfried as well. Not to mention you're going my way, mind if I tag along? Siegfried agreed and the two left. Kasara finished her soda and thought about it. Yeah, I suppose it is getting rather late. If they are going to ambush us, it would not be on a night like this. Berserker is one to take his time with his targets. Should be tomorrow he finds us, with the rest or not. Yukita and Takeda had stopped fighting, both of them a little bruised up from their attempts to claim the food Yukita took from Takeda in the first place. Takeda grinned like a goof. Hey, it's not that late, the fun isn't over here. Yukita scoffed as he got up a little wobbly. Speak for yourself, I need to get to class early tomorrow or I fail this year. Aren't you in the same boat? Takeda's sweat dropped as he got up and chuckled nervously. I suppose you have a point. Best not to seem like an idiot just because I like a little fun every now and then. It wouldn't impress the ladies if I was all brawn no brains. Naruto rolled his eyes, and Miu giggled. She looked at them. You go on ahead everyone. Me and Naruto are just going to finish our dinner and head back to the dojo. See you all tomorrow. Kasara put her arms behind her head as she stretched, walking out. Later Naruto. Miu, see you tomorrow. Don't stay too late, the place closes in another half hour. As Takeda and Yukita helped each other out, Naruto sat back and relaxed. So, who are you guarding? Miu shrugged. Thor came over but he left rather quickly. I think I need to see how he is doing. It will take a good while to find him, but I think it's possible. He said he was going to his old ring just to reminisce, and it's a ways away. Naruto nodded and ate the last of his ramen. I'll keep Yukita and Takeda safe. Kasara is strong enough to handle anything coming her way, she did keep up with Freya and the others before. If it's only Freya, I think she can win this time. Miu nodded and stood up, stretching as she did. I best be off then. Remember, don't be reckless. You yourself were the one who saw Berserk higher threat. If that is true then we better not let him have the upper hand on us. We fixed Takeda before, and Yukita is with us, but we can't let them get hurt like they did during their farewell beatdown. Naruto nodded, looking serious as he looked blankly across the table. I know, but if it cannot be helped, then it cannot be helped. For one to understand defeat they must first experience it firsthand. Berserker is one who never lost and who has seen nothing but victory, as Siegfried said, and that makes him vulnerable. Still, never losing is kind of unsettling. Never, not even to the first fist. Then why is he only number 2? Miu kissed his cheek and smiled. Whatever happens, I know you can win. But be safe, I don't want to find out why he never loses. Naruto blushed but smiled up at her, nodding. And you too. Can't have you finding an even greater enemy in your search for Thor to help him out. Miu nodded and went to find Thor. I'll do my best, as will you. Be safe. With that she left and Naruto finished the last of his bowl, drinking the broth before paying and leaving himself. He had to make sure to shadow Takeda and Yukita without them knowing. XXXXXXXXX. Thor was currently at the old pit he used to run, the one Naruto beat him in. He smiled as he jumped in. Ah, the Ring of Champions. Here I made men out of the boys, and revealed the skills of all who wished to fight their own battles, and this is where I met the one man who understands martial arts as our soul. Thor slammed his feet into the floor, getting into stance. Sumo or not, he is one who knows what it means to fight, what it means to be a champion, to be a fighter, to be a sumo at heart. Thor roared as he charged forth and slammed his palms into the far wall, stopping as he pushed into it. The party was great, but it's not in me to have fun sitting down. I need to be on my feet, fighting, showing what my martial art can do. I am Thor. Sumo. Thor laughed loudly as he griped his hips. After a few minutes of this he settled down, smiling as he looked around in nostalgia. This place is where I truly seen what a real fight could do. What a martial artist at heart is all about. What true friendship means. I can never thank Naruto enough. Ragnarok doesn't stand a chance. We don't do we beg to differ. Thor looked up above the ring in surprise to see a dozen girls in the same uniform in different colors suddenly walk up into view all around him. The Valkyrie. But aren't you supposed to be Freya's force? One girl with long brown hair pointed her tonfa at him. Our orders are to take you down, Thor. You betrayed Ragnarok, and joined the Shinka. We are here to finish Shinka before it even starts up against us. Thor grinned as he looked to her. Well, that's so. I guess I should be considered lucky to be such a threat to Ragnarok that you all had to come here to fight me at once. But just so you know, I am not the one who makes Shinka strong, it is Naruto who makes it strong. Another girl in blue with a bandana smirked. And Berserker is going to find him. He may have beaten Hermit, twice even, and he may have beaten us, but he will not be beating Berserker tonight. Freya is even here to make sure we don't fail in crushing the Shinka. Thor looked all around him a little bit more before he slammed a foot into the ground again, getting into stance. Shinka will not back down. Shinka will not fall. We will not let you beat us so easily. Come at me. See what Shinka can do. Berserker and Freya stand no chance against our friendship and skill. XXXXXXXXX. Kasara was halfway home when she found Freya in her way. It was near the park, and Freya had her back to her, looking into the park itself. Freya hummed as she pulled the staff up and tapped it against her shoulder. This is the same place I was saved from certain death. Was it a month ago already? Kasara was confused by this and took a stance slowly. Are you here to fight me again? I know Berserker is on his shopping list. Did he bring you on Odin's orders to take Shinka down? Freya turned, smiling a bit. Yeah, orders are to beat Shinka completely. Guess I got caught up in the place Naruto saved me. Like he saved you. Kasara narrowed her eyes, tightening her stance a bit. Like he would ever save someone who wants to harm his friends. Freya turned around totally, planting her staff in front of her and leaning on it. But he didn't know about me being Ragnarok when he saved me. Not to mention, it was before I was sent to give you a farewell beatdown. I truly am sorry for how the others treated you. Kasara seen Freya look down in remorse. She relaxed a bit, but kept her guard up. Maybe you should have considered that before letting them almost paralyze me. Freya closed her eyes, standing up straight. I know they would have, but hope they wouldn't even think about it. You are one to follow your own path, as we all are. I am sorry I pushed you so hard to use a weapon, but I strictly believed no woman could fight a male equally without them. I still believe women need weapons to keep up with the men. Kasara stayed cool and calm, but smiled a bit. We don't, but that should not stop us from using what we are talented at. You have your weapons, and I have my legs. That should be enough. Freya nodded and smiled more, but not for long as she frowned, turning her gaze serious and battle-ready. Last time we fought, you were a very strong opponent. It has not been very long since then, and I never slack in my training. Do you really believe this time will be any different? Kasara smirked playfully. Hey, don't sell me short, Freya. I lost, yeah, but I haven't stopped training my butt off since then either. Sure, I would get a few cramps and stings telling me to stop or else, but I haven't gotten soft in my downtime. I may not win this time either. But like hell am I staying still and accepting it. Kasara stormed Freya, running at her with amazing speed. Freya was impressed by that, and flipped her staff up, twisting it into position at her side as she got into stance to fight. Admirable, as always Kasara, let's see who comes out on top this time. XXXXXXXXX. Takeda and Yukita were laughing as they headed to the late-night dojo they always attended. Yukita laughed as Takeda told him a funny joke. Come on, how do you come up with these? Seriously, a marriage can never lose the ring if a boxer is in charge of it. You really can laugh at yourself. Takeda grinned as he shrugged. It's a gift, I guess. Makes the ladies like me even more knowing I can make them laugh. Yukita huffed, but kept grinning. Maybe so, but I don't see you having a fan club like Hermit has. He gets all the ladies, and he doesn't joke around. Takeda pouted as he put his arms behind his head. He's just a pretty body. Only a real man can make a girl's heart throb. A guy that looks feminine may be cute to the girls after Hermit, but just wait until they realize cute is what you call a kid, and what a real man that makes you happy is called sexy. Sexy is gruff and a little scar here and there. Yukita rubbed his chin where he had one. Yeah, but why aren't we getting a single date though? Truth be told, I kind of have a feeling we should tone down the gruff and turn a little more sensitive. Takeda looked up and thought about that. Naruto was thoughtful and nice, caring and collected, but also a fighter with the eyes of a true warrior, someone who could be seen as a real man. Takeda smiled at that. Guess you're right. Heart is what matters, not looks. As long as we are who we are, we shouldn't worry. The right girl will come to us if we wait and show them we are someone they like. After a few more blocks they were heading around an alley to the arena, only to stop in their tracks. Yukita frowned as he pulled his hands from his pockets. I guess we got unlucky here. If it was Loki I would be more inclined to think we survived this night. Freya maybe we can have a small fight with and she doesn't try to rip our limbs off, but this is our luck. Berserker. A tall muscular blonde with spiky hair was walking up wearing a red open jacket and jeans, blowing a bubble with his gum. He stopped in front of them and looked at a piece of paper. Yep, thought I would find the lowest on the totem pole first. Figures I wouldn't get a real fight first. Takeda got into fighting stance and looked ready to fight. We may not be as strong as the others, but we are no pushovers. We can still take you on, just try it. Berserker popped the bubble he was making and kept chewing his gum. Takeda the puncher, and Yukita the thrower. Heard you two could hold your own against Kasara for a while, and Kasara can take on Freya pretty well, but that doesn't mean you two can beat me. You think you can give me a good fight? I won't stop ya, but I figure it won't happen. Yukita got ready to fight as well. We won't back down, we never do, and neither does Naruto. Takeda, whatever happens just know we need to wear him down. The more worn out he is, the less chance he beats Naruto. Takeda smirked at Yukita. Remember, I don't plan on losing this fight. Just try to keep up Yukita. Let's go. With that, Takeda ran at Berserker, who started popping his neck calmly. Yukita roared as he followed suit, ready to fight Berserker till they could no longer keep fighting. Even if both were looking to win or do well in this fight, and try not to let Berserker go on to fight Naruto without some sort of bruise, they both prayed Naruto would come and help them with this, so that they could say they held out till their friend could save them. XXXXXXXXX. Kasara jumped up at the last second and twisted, raising her back leg up swiftly for a rising heel kick, but Freya was not about to let Kasara get the upper hand. Freya raised her staff up and lifted the leg up higher than its desired path to go above her head instead. As she did this she reared her back leg to the side and turned. Kasara bent her free leg in and kept it ready as she seen Freya turn and thrust her staff at her from behind, the tip coming at her rapidly. Kasara kicked it hard, the impact causing Freya to move her hand covering the other end out of the way in discomfort and turn back, backing off from Kasara as Kasara herself had enough momentum form the counter-strike to flip backward and on her feet again. Kasara landed and tipped off her recent kicking foot, balancing on the other for now. Freya seen this and smiled, shaking her one hand that covered the tip that thrust back from Kasara's strike. Seems we both connected an indirect strike. You've grown in countering my moves. Kasara smirked as she feather hopped on her stinging foot, trying to get the pain to numb down with movement. And you've still got the skill to block me. You're not going down easy, you never were one to do so, but I still think I can win. If I don't then whatever, but you never enter a fight thinking you will lose. Freya clung her stinging hand into a fist before clapping it onto her staff, raising it vertical in front of her in a narrow stance. That is a good way of thinking. Come then, Kasara, show me everything you have. Do not hold back. Kasara stamped her foot to the ground and rushed again, this time getting in low and sweeping her leg to drive Freya to the ground. Freya clapped the staff on the ground and raised herself up, dodging the sweep kick. Kasara still managed to kick the staff off the ground, but that only fueled Freya's strike as she flipped and swung her body and the staff around. Kasara pushed off the ground to the side, landing on her sweeping foot as Freya slapped her stick against the ground where Kasara once was. Kasara kicked off from her position and struck her lifted leg out, aiming straight for Freya's side. Freya was still in the air from her move, but she pushed off the staff to twist her body to the side and swung it out, slapping Kasara's leg out of the way. Kasara swung her other leg out as the staff made her spin, and her heel connected finally, slamming into Freya's shoulder and making her spin in the air before dropping to the ground before she could recover. Freya rolled on the ground a bit before rolling on her feet and grunting in pain, holding her struck shoulder, feeling the kick hit hard enough to cause a sprain. Kasara landed on her lower back and rolled a bit, almost on her head, but used this momentum to raise her legs and kick up, coming back onto her feet. She turned and got back into stance, a little shaky form getting up so quickly. Freya gripped her staff tighter and got up, rushing at Kasara as she got back up, and swung harshly for Kasara's legs. Kasara jumped up over the staff and kicked hard down, making the staff hit the ground and get stuck under her feet. Freya looked in surprise at this before grabbing her staff with both hands and pulling. Kasara hopped off as she seen this before landing in a low crouch. Kasara pushed off the ground and flipped forward, bringing both legs down at the same time at Freya. Freya saw this and raised her staff up vertically again. As Kasara's legs came down hard and fast, Freya moved her head and upper body to the side with her staff and created an angle, of which deflected Kasara's kick to the side, making her spin a bit to the side. Freya suddenly pushed her top hand down, forcing the staff to curve from its angle and outwards. As Kasara landed on all fours, she looked up to see Freya swing her staff down, and looked in shock as Freya was fast enough to connect, the staff slapping into Kasara's back and side. Kasara yelled in pain as the staff struck her, but she quickly got on a leg and hand and pushed away, rolling on the ground a bit. Freya swirled her staff in front of her before stopping T and getting into stance again, her staff facing forward by her side. Kasara hissed as she got up, holding her side. Guess I should have expected to get hit sooner or later. You're still able to pull off moves with that staff. I can't even see till it's too late. Freya stepped forward and got into a lower stance. Kasara knew this was no time to talk as she stepped forward too, getting ready to strike. Freya swung her back foot forward and spun, swinging her staff out as she rotated all the way around. Kasara ducked under this and turned around, raising a harsh rising kick to Freya's arm and connecting, slamming it against Freya's arm and making her lose balance, the staff flailing back behind her. Kasara stomped her kicking leg down and turned, bringing her other leg forward and snapped it against Freya's side. Freya tried to back up, but was hit anyway, being hit to the side. Freya had to catch herself as Kasara's kick almost pushed her on the ground from its strength. As Freya collected herself and get ready for the next strike, Kasara was already on her, raising her other leg up and thrusting it forward, kicking Freya with a gut-wrenching kick to the stomach, forcing Freya to fall back and roll on the ground. Kasara stood still, waiting to see if Freya was going to get up and continue. Freya coughed as she used her staff to slowly raise onto her knees. Kasara felt compelled to go and help Freya up, but knew Freya was strong enough to get up herself, as well as not done fighting yet. Freya stood back up, holding her stomach from the kick Kasara sent her way. She coughed hard one more time before taking a deep breath. Kasara knew the look Freya was giving her now. Freya was ready to take the kid gloves off. So was she. Kasara took a deep breath and loosened up. Come at me, Freya. Freya nodded and rushed forward, thrusting her staff forward at Kasara. Kasara dodged to the side and kicked hard up to Freya's side again, but Freya snapped the other end of her staff down and blocked Kasara's kick. Freya reared back and swung horizontally at Kasara, then rotated the other end up and slammed it downwards. Kasara ducked the first strike and jumped back to dodge the second before kicking off the ground and jumping forward, spinning and swinging a wild kick to Freya. Freya twisted around, lowering herself to duck under the kick as she swung her staff back, the back tip thrusting up at Kasara again, but Kasara caught it in her hands, blocking it. Kasara also grabbed the staff and raised both legs up before swinging them down. Freya howled as Kasara slammed both hells into her shoulders, making her almost drop her staff, but it did slam her into the ground, laying on the ground and holding her shoulders. Kasara backed off, having landed on her feet a bit unsteady and having to correct herself. Freya pushed herself up, grunting as she attempted to ignore the pain, and turned herself to Kasara. Kasara tightened her stance for her final technique, the one she was working on all week. Freya rushed and swung at her fast, turning her back to the front and snapping the staff's back end against her. Kasara ducked down fast, crouching on all fours with crossed arms. Freya looked down at Kasara as she twisted and swung her leg out, slamming it against Freya's stomach, and the other leg swung out and swept Freya's leg out from under her. Freya looked in shock as Kasara spun faster, bringing her body up, upside down in a handstand, as she swung her sweeping leg around, which was bent back inwards, and snapped it out, slamming the heel into Freya's side harshly and kicking her back. Freya screamed in pain as she felt one of her ribs break, her body rolling on the ground as she lost grip to her staff. Kasara landed on her free leg and rolled her body up, standing upright once more. She seen Freya gasping, holding her side as she finally focused on trying to endure the pain instead of keep her staff in hand to fight. Kasara came up and grabbed the staff, holding a hand out to Freya. Here, we should get you to a clinic. Freya looked up to Kasara, and seen her smiling. Freya grunted hard and gripped her side, gasping out to get more breath in her lungs before speaking. You've grown. Ah, more than I thought you could have in such a short time. But you did it. Freya smiled and let her free hand raise up and hold Kasara's. Kasara lifted Freya up slowly, pulling her up to wrap her arm around her shoulders, being Freya's support. Freya took hold of her staff as Kasara gave it to her and she used to help her walk. The two girls started down the street and Freya smiled, still clutching her side. Freya chuckled lowly, still gasping in a bit of pain as they walked. To think I would be beaten by being disarmed. Kasara looked to Freya in confusion, and Freya looked back but with pride. My student disarming me from my staff with nothing but her kicks, no weapons of any kind from her, and she disarms me. You're truly strong and skilled, and more so than you could ever have been with a weapon in your hand. To know I helped you become strong in spirit as a martial artist woman, and being able to counter me with my greatest weapon skills. Kasara smiled at that and chuckled softly. Hey, don't forget I still got hurt back there. You gave me a good bruise there. If I hadn't learned to fight watching Naruto spar with his masters and friends, I probably wouldn't have come up with my last technique. The rising shuriken. That's what won me the fight back there. Freya nodded at that. And a wonderful skill it is. Fitting as well, I suppose. Thank you. I needed to lose. Kasara looked at Freya again, this time with a very puzzled look. Lose? Why? You're strong. You shouldn't want to lose a fight, or expect to lose. Freya shook her head. No, I did not think or believe I would lose, nor did I think I was weak and should lose for that. I just wanted to lose. If I lose, then my position as the third fist of Ragnarok is compromised. I do not wish to be a part of their group anymore. Odin has become quite unstable for the past few days, and he has still not kept his promise, so I fail to see why I should be in a group destined to become truly evil in an attempt to still stand after this final fight. Kasara stopped and looked at Freya still. This got her attention. You mean Berserker's shopping list? Freya looked up, frowning a bit. No, Naruto and Berserker will fight, and I believe Naruto will win. When he does, the only fists left to fight are Loki, who has already lost, and Odin. Odin has taken a personal stake in fighting Naruto, so the final battle will be all-out war. Everyone still loyal to Ragnarok against anyone left in Shinka after tonight. Kasara looked at Freya in surprise. Then we have to warn everyone. Freya shook her head and looked to Kasara. The Valkyrie are heading after Thor, Berserker is ambushing Takeda and Yukita, and I came to fight you one more time. Berserker would probably continue to find and fight Siegfried and that other leader, Nijima, then head after Naruto. Shinka will be weakened by the end of the night to just Naruto and that girl with him, Miu. Kasara looked forward with Freya before looking up. I think we are stronger than you think. Or at least, smarter. We knew an ambush was possible. Naruto is probably on his way to someone to help them fight whoever is sent to fight them. Maybe Miu will be fighting Berserker, or the Valkyrie, as Naruto takes whoever is left. Maybe one of them will find us, but I doubt it. I told them both I could handle myself, regardless of whether I win or lose. They trust me, and know I am strong enough to fight my own battles. Freya smiled and nodded, but they still wish to help. Naruto did save me from a few weapon masters who wanted me dead. I believe this night will be a lose for Ragnarok more so than it would have been for Shinka. Proof of this is simple, you beat me already. Kasara chuckled as Freya rubbed her hat a little around. Hey, stop that, but thanks. I appreciate you accepting my choice, and I am happy to know you are following a better path now by quitting Ragnarok. I would never telephone you to stop following your path, and would accept it either way, but the path of Ragnarok is one I did not want anymore, or see anyone I looked up to following. Freya and Kasara got to a clinic, and as Freya got off Kasara, she stood straight, and smiled. You are wiser than I. Thank you Kasara, and rest. Tomorrow, Odin is very well going to send an all-out attack to fight Shinka, regardless of how this night turns out. You will need all your strength to help your friends and team. Kasara nodded and smiled. And you get better as well, Freya. I'd rather the next time we meet not be a fight, but a calm lunch to talk and finally be friends, not just teacher and student. I will always look up to you, but that does not mean we cannot be friends and enjoy each other's company. Freya nodded and the two girls parted ways. Kasara rubbing her side a bit as it was hurting more than she expected. I think she may have hit the bone harder than I thought. Stings worse than it should. I should be okay though, just nothing too serious. Hope tomorrow goes well. Thor roared as he grabbed the chain wrapping around his wrist and pulled the Valkyrie who wielded the ball and chain down into the pit. He grabbed her arm as she fell and threw her at her friends. Truthfully, he wasn't one to hurt a girl, but if he needed to he would fight, even if it were to just throw them around in the least harmful manner. As she was caught by one girl, two more came in with their own weapons, the red uniformed girl with tonfas dropping and instead of jumping as her partner, a girl with sais, jumped at him. He lifted one leg and slammed it into the ground, making the girl with tonfas lose her balance. He pushed her back, hard enough to fly back into the wall and get the message. The girl with the sais hooked his arm as he tried to swat her away, and she flipped under the arm and swung, the metal stinging against his cheek and leaving a bruise. Even if the tips of the sais were supposed to be sharp, Freya always made sure no lethal weapon was held by her Valkyrie. Thor groaned a bit and turned, but soon got caught on the end of a pole staff naginata. He stomped on the ground and turned, only for the girl with ball and chain to hook his arm. He reared back. He saw them start to swarm him, and huffed. You're not going to pin a sumo. He roared as he pulled on the chain and slammed a palm into the naginata, breaking the pole as he did. The girl with the chain flying up. As he reached up to catch her, the girl with the tonfas slammed both down on his face, making him close his eyes and walk backwards. The girl with a whip caught his leg and pulled hard as it went up, and the girl with the nunchaku slammed both ends into his chest, and finally slamming him into the wall. The girl with the tonfas ran up. Get him, girls. He's on the ropes. As she came at him, so did the girl with the nunchaku, and the one with the metal fans. Thor seen the girl with chain and ball tugging him against the wall to keep his arm pinned, and the girl with the whip had a good hold on his leg to stay up. Without any traction, he had no means of defense. That was when he saw a lot of blonde hair fall in front of him. Mew, in her purple leotard and green sweatshirt, she landed on all fours, bent down to the ground like a cat. In an instant, as the girls came to them, Mew shot up and snapped both legs out, kicking back the two girls on the sides, the one with fans and the one with nunchaku. As she landed on both feet, she blocked the girl with the tonfas with her bare hand, catching the wrist of the girl before rolling in and sending a shuddering palm strike into the girl's chest, sending her back. As the three girls were recovering, Mew took her hair clip and unclasped the hidden blade, cutting the whip from Thor's leg before snapping it back and into her hair. She looked at the girls recovering. Thor, you all right? Thor shrugged the chain off him and glared at the girl above him, making her step back a bit. He hummed, I am, but these girls are not pushovers. They are stronger than I remembered. So, you beat the rest of the Ragnarok team sent after us. Mew shook her head. They never showed up at the restaurant. We believe it was all ambushes on the way home. Me and Naruto split up to help you, Takeda and Yukita. Kasara said she wanted to fight alone whoever she fought against. Thor huffed, nodding. I guess that's how it's gonna have to be. These girls are tough, so watch out. Mew seen one girl with a broken weapon just watching. She looked to Thor. Why isn't that girl with the naginata fighting us? Thor scoffed, getting ready as he seen the girls get their plan together. They're weapon masters. Just like Freya, they hold to the code. If their weapon is taken from them or broken, they forfeit. No doubt she'll just kick me when I'm down to make the point with their Ragnarok loyalty to give me my beat down. That ain't gonna happen though. The girl with tonfas ran up again, swinging once at Mew. As Mew blocked it to her side, the girl leapt back and Mew was greeted with the girl with the fans. She clapped them shut before taking them from the girl and kicking her away. She tossed the fans out of the ring and was ready for the next girl. Before she could get to the next girl attacking, Thor pushed her out of the way and blocked with his own body the ball from the ball and chain that was swinging around. He grunted as it hit him square in the gut, but grabbed it and pulled her down. Mew seen the girl with the whip crack at him, and leapt up, kicking the whip in the middle to make it flop instead of crack when pulled back. Thor kept good hold on the chain as the girl holding it tried to get it from his grasp, and seen the tonfa girl start trying to get under Mew. He tossed the chain to the side and made it wrap around the girl's legs, making her trip and fall as Mew landed safely. Mew saw the girl with the size come up behind Thor and ran at him, sliding under his legs and kicking the girl's legs from under her, making her fall as well and lose one of her size. Thor rose a foot and crushed the metal sai, breaking the handle off. As that happened, the girl with the ball and chain wrapped the chain around Thor's neck and pulled hard. He groaned as he grabbed the chain, but with little leverage, and his back to the wall, he wasn't going anywhere. Mew seen this and flipped upward, away from the girl with the single sai, and kicked the chain and ball user with a swift snap kick to the shoulder, tossing her to the side and letting go of her chain. She landed and kicked the chain away from her before snapped backwards, flipping away from the still functional whip the girl using it had. Thor was free and he seen the girl with the sai come at him from below, hoping to hook his leg and have the girl with tonfas help her take him down. He seen the girl with tonfas rushing from his side and slapped a hand along the wall, making the sound bounce off beside her ear. It stung her ear as she stopped and held her hand up to the one nearest the wall. Thor pushed off the wall and slapped his other hand on his knee, slamming it onto the ground and making the girl with the sai break off and get away. She snarled and was about to attack, when she got hit by her comrade, the girl with the whip tied up and thrown at her. As the girls both fell, the second sai left her hand. Thor seen the leader beside him too late, as she slammed her tonfa into his face, taking him off guard and making him stagger. As he staggered away from her, she ran up and charged, jumping forward and at Thor's leg, hitting square as it rose up and making him tilt to the side. As Thor fell on his side, the girl with the tonfas rolled and jumped backwards, spinning and ready to strike a finishing blow. Before she could, however, she was kicked by Mew, and slammed into Thor's belly, bouncing off and hitting the ground. When she tried to get up, Mew kicked her first tonfa away. The girl swung the end forward for a stabbing effect and tried to hit Mew, but Mew easily dodged to the side and slammed a heavy kick into her shoulder, making her throw the tonfa away before Mew pinned her to the ground. It's over. Your weapons are lost, and you've been beaten. The leader snarled a bit. You Shinka losers are the ones who will be beaten. Freya and Berserker are already taking out your stronger members, like Naruto and Siegfried. Even Kasara is not immune to defeat with those two. Mew narrowed a glare and stepped away from the girl. You have no idea how strong Naruto really is. He's held his strength back, knowing what would happen not lower level fighters if he were to give all his strength in a challenge. If he used his full power and with all the speed he could send it, your tonfas would be splinters around this entire block. He's only had trouble because he holds himself back to where you can fight him, and where he wouldn't be able to do permanent harm to anyone. Berserker has no chance, and he's already defeated you all before. And Kasara is much stronger than when you all attacked her like cowards. It's Ragnarok and their crooked ways that will be ending here. Thor smiled and got up, grunting as he sat up. She's right. We're fighting for honor, friendship, and truth. The Shinka will never give up the fight, and we won't let Ragnarok's ways of domination take hold. I joined Ragnarok to improve my sumo and show how it can be used in real combat, but Naruto shown me that a real fighter doesn't need to dominate in order to prove their skills worthy. Siegfried found the same, and Kasara before him. The honorable people of Ragnarok woke up and realized their skills can be used for the better of all, and joined Naruto. Shinka or not, we follow him, our friend. Before the girl could retort, she seen Freya, her orange jacket askew, but standing tall over the pit. Freya, you're here. Does that mean you beat one of the Shinka fighters? See, Blondie, you were wrong. No one's stronger than Freya. Freya called out. Valkyries, you fought well. You did your best, even if you lost. But I think it's time we changed. We've been fighting street trash and high school students, shoving our power against others, trying to make them follow us or feel our power. I've had enough. I've been rethinking our position in Ragnarok for some time, and I finally feel free. Kasara, a former Valkyrie under me as a weapon user, she followed her heart and left us. She left and shown how her belief of a woman strong enough to beat a man with only her fists can come true. And she beat me. All the Valkyrie gasped. As Freya stepped back and let the light reflect on her body, they all seen her bruised and beaten. Kasara came up beside her, just as hurt, but both standing tall. Freya raised her voice. I, Freya, announce my resignation to Ragnarok. Will you follow me, or fight me when you've recovered? The leader looked up in shock. But as Freya looked in the light, she could see her master, full of her former passion, the glow of her fighter's spirit clear within her eyes. The leader of the Valkyrie smiled weakly, relaxing. Freya-sama, we will follow you, who gave us a purpose, a fighting spirit we so desired, and shown the way to being truly amazing martial artists. The Valkyrie follow you. We will follow you to the ends of the earth. The Valkyrie around the pit, and the ones inside, all called out their approval of such. Freya smiled and sat at the edge of the pit. Then let's all go and recover form tonight. I'm going to a clinic, and you all need to get your weapons fixed, and your bodies recovered from any bruises. Thor, think you can give us a hand? Thor smiled at Freya. I guess I can give it a shot. Sure, why not? Mew smiled at the whole ordeal. She looked up into the sky, having a thought to Naruto. Please Naruto, don't fail. Help our friends, and come back to us whole. XXX with Takeda and Yukita XXX. Takeda was huffing loudly, his face bruised from the hit he took earlier. Yukita was on the ground, out cold. It was clear Yukita needed a little better training. Takeda had put hours upon hours into his days and nights, training and never giving up. He took a few tips from Naruto's own training, putting weights on and everything, hoping to sow something to increase the effectiveness of his training. He felt inadequate now, like it meant nothing. Yukita lay unconscious on the ground, and Berserker, a tall blonde with a red jacket and jeans, was blowing a bubble from his chewing gum, a leg slamming into Yukita's chest to keep him pinned. You're a wild one, alright. Takeda the puncher, right. Heard stories about your powerful punches. You've built up quite the representative as a high-level fighter. Last time you took on a fist, Kasara had a bruise. If you've been keeping your training up, you may be able to give me something of a good fight. Takeda scoffed, tensing up his blocking arms. I said it once, I will only say it one more time. Get your foot off my friend, and I won't have to break your nose. Berserker sighed, his foot twisting into Yukita's chest. You know, your noble act is getting old. You're getting angry over something you obviously don't care about. In a fight you care about yourself, keep calm, and go for it. Why are you still putting up this tough nice guy act? Takeda raced forward. Because I am a nice guy. Now get off my friend. Takeda threw a harsh jab, but Berserker dodged it and spun, kicking him. Takeda had managed to take the brunt with his arms, tensing his core, but it still stung like hell. Berserker sighed. Really, you're going to bore me with this nobility act till I put you down. Tell you what, you tell me the real reason you want me off him, and I'll focus only on you. Takeda rolled his shoulder and snarled. Because I am a noble guy, and he is my friend. I don't like you torturing my friend like that, and I want you off him now. Berserker took a deep breath. Nobility is such a cliché. Honestly, you're really going to give me this nobility crap. Fine, have it your way. Come get me off him. Takeda roared as he went for it again, this time pulling out all the stops. He pulled a right hook to catch Berserker off guard, but as expected he dodged back a bit. Takeda ducked under Berserker's straight-up kick and thrust a straight punch to his chest. Berserker was a bit off guard here, but somehow he managed to bring his leg down and kick the punch away before sending a punch of his own. Takeda took it fully to the jaw, and was pushed back. Takeda almost hit the ground on his side, but managed to catch himself with some fast footwork. After an unsteady balance act he finally caught himself and held his cheek with his forearm. He seen Berserker still chewing gum. You're pretty good, staying up like that after one of my punches. Not many can accomplish that. Guess I do have a good fight on my hands. He stepped over Yukita but got off him nonetheless, walking up to Takeda. Better get ready, Takeda, or you'll be seeing stars and Tweety birds. Takeda got back in stance. He spit the little bit of blood he had in his mouth. Finally off my friend. Now I can concentrate without him hurting Yukita. Sorry, Yukita, guess I wasn't good enough to protect you as I wanted. Still, I will hit him good. I'll leave a bruise on this guy for you. Takeda stepped into Berserker's reach and tensed up his core. This was just preparation as he knew Berserker was going to dodge and counter his strike. He gave a swift uppercut, but Berserker dodged to the side and spun, turning his back and raising a leg. Takeda roared with a swift thrust. Lethal left. With all his might and speed he clocked Berserker, finally hitting, but not without a cost. Berserker took the hit to the gut, and his attack hitched, his body thrown off balance, but he didn't let his strike fail as it hit Takeda square in the hips, and tossing Takeda to the side, finally hitting the ground. Takeda gawked as the strike to the hips felt like a boulder hitting him at high speed. He could have sworn he felt a rib break. Berserker staggered back, but managed to catch his balance, lifting his jacket to see a bruise on his side. Takeda grunted, gasping as he pushed himself on his knees. As he huffed, Berserker blew a bubble and smirked. Not bad. Guess you're not so bad a fighter as everyone thought. Your left arm is definitely dangerous, as advertised, but you're still not going to take me down if all you get in is a single bruise. Takeda stood on shaky legs, turning and lifting his block up. That was for me, to show you exactly what I can do, Berserker. But there's still one more in me. You're not going to take me down without a second bruise. Berserker chuckled lightly before looking at Takeda. That's the spirit. You're a boxer, all right. Full of fighting spirit. Takeda's vision was getting blurry, his stance staggering from side to side. He knew he had to get a grip, but he needed another second of focus. He had something to ask to stall for it too. I gotta know. Berserker. What style of fighting do you study? What martial arts do you train under? There's no way you're traditionally trained. Berserker scoffed, shrugging. You're a keen observer, but one thing you didn't figure was my answer. I didn't learn any, I'm just a brawler. I fight how I want, no moves to restrict me, technique only gets in my way. Takeda took a deep breath. That explains it all right. No way he got this skill and talent naturally, but it's not technique that's got me beat, it's experience and power, just raw blind might thrown around for years built up to what is breaking my ribs. But he's never trained. I can't go down without showing him what training really does. Takeda tensed up, shifting his stance and tightening his core, his block narrowing in front of him. Berserker seen Takeda ready and rushed in for the first time. Takeda got ready and shifted a leg backwards. Berserker threw a blind kick at Takeda's head, but Takeda ducked under it, weaving himself around and pushing forward, ducking down as Berserker twisted and threw another. Takeda ducked under it and kicked to the side. Berserker seen Takeda duck the second kick and twisted the other way, swinging a hooking uppercut at Takeda, but seen that it was effectively dodged. Takeda put his arms together, seeing Berserker catch him in a vulnerable spot. Berserker threw a punch down to his chest, seeing Takeda unable to dodge the next strike due to his reach. Stay still. Takeda took the hit with his arms, but quickly moved to the side, pushing his arms to the side and deflecting it to the side, getting in close to Berserker. This is for Yukita, bastard. Takeda slammed his lethal left arm forward, clocking Berserker in the nose. Berserker gawked and staggered back. Takeda took this as his chance, and followed, sending 3 flying jabs into Berserker's chest before clocking his chin with an ultimate uppercut. Berserker staggered back before finally catching himself and kicking off the ground with his back leg, which caught him, and slammed it into Takeda's chest, who was still advancing. Takeda gawked in pain, breathless as the kick sent the air from his lung, and broke another rib or two. As he hit the ground he bounced and skid to a stop a few feet away. As he lay gasping, twitching in pain, Berserker huffed, rubbing the blood from his nose and spitting what made it to his mouth away. Takeda the puncher damn, you got me good. You've got a mean left, that's for sure. Get up. I want this fight to keep going, it's way too much fun. Takeda curled up, trying to do everything just to breath as he felt his ribs painfully telling his body to quit moving. Berserker seen this and spat again, growling. Can no one give me a good fight? Damn it. These losers aren't on my level. As Berserker turned to leave, he saw someone walking down the steps nearby into the lower walkway. He caught the two in. Well, I'll be the one who's been beating all the fists single high-handedly. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto came down and walked to Takeda. As Berserker watched, he seen Naruto start rubbing Takeda's chest before quick jabs and turning the boxer over. Takeda took a huge breath, gasping as he lay there, drained. Naruto smiled. Good to see you in one piece, buddy. Sorry I'm late, I should have been with you from the beginning. Takeda chuckled with heaving breaths. Don't worry about it, I can handle a few bruises. This guy's no joke though, he took me and Yukita out with little trouble. I managed to get him a few times, but he's not very fazed by it. Berserker narrowed his eyes. Hey, stop stalling. You're going to face me whether you like it or not, so stop trying to show nobility by helping those weaklings. Naruto glared at Berserker. Nobility is what I fight for. I help my friends, regardless of what others say. Berserker groaned, scoffing and shaking his head. I'm getting sick of these nobility acts. First Yukita, then Takeda, now you. Honestly, they're one fighter who's actually a skilled fighter and not putting up some stupid act or false sense of nobility. Naruto looked to Takeda. You can move. When Takeda nodded, he did too. Get Yukita and get out of here. Head to the clinic. I'll handle this. Trust me. Takeda scoffed with a smile, grunting as he sat up. I always do. Kick his ass, Naruto. With a thumbs up, he got up on weak legs and started around Berserker to get Yukita. Naruto stood and got into the Myotoad stance. Berserker, there is no act or false nobility. I am who I am, you can accept it or not. Either way, for hurting my friends you leave me no choice but to break some of your bones. Berserker narrowed his eyes. He seen clearly Naruto was not kidding, it was all serious. He was kind of impressed by that, seeing real nobility. He looked to Takeda, who was picking Yukita up, and seen the friendship and nobility. It was all true. He looked back to Naruto. I suppose you all do have real friendship and nobility, but that doesn't change the facts. You're weak for having such, and will be going down by my hands like the other two. Naruto took a deep breath. The only way for you to be right, is to prove it. Come and show me what you got, Berserker. Well, this is unexpected. Akisame was currently working over Freya, who had broken ribs due to Kasara's newest technique. Kensai was helping the other girls, under Miu's supervision of course, but what was surprising to Akisame was the amount of damage done from Kasara. Last he seen her, she had been unable to beat the girl in front of him. Now she won, and even caused a fair bit of damage. It was impressive the progress she's made, given the short time he has known her to have been out of Ragnarok. Hold still, okay. This might hurt for a quick second, but it'll set the bone right. Freya was a little busy thinking about the people here. So far, it's been everyone who has fought, but it worried her that she didn't see the rest of the Shinka. Hearing something from the doctor helping her, she looked to him, having not heard. Akisame liked to catch his patients off guard. It gave them less time to tense, making it easier to set the bone and not pinch any nerves. He may have had a slight enjoyment on tricking them to do that. It was always a good harmless laugh to have when helping his patients. It did have its purposes beyond that, however. Sorry, did I go before you were ready? Freya was wide awake now, looking incredulously at Akisame. You could have warned me. Akisame smiled, laughing a bit. I did, but it seems you've got something on your mind. What? Does it not feel better? Blinking, she felt her ribs and took a few deep breaths. It did hurt a bit to take in deeper ones, but she could breathe normally now, and it was expected to be tender, so she could safely say it was better. Smiling at that, she relaxed. Thanks, doctor. Yeah, I'm just worried about something. Akisame knew what she was worried about, but he needed more information. My disciple is still out there, isn't he? Is he facing someone tough? Freya nodded, but looked to him curiously. She could have sworn he read her mind. Yeah, he is. Leaving the mind reading behind, she looked at everyone. Kasara's really grown as a fighter. And Thor, with Miu, took out my own students in a fight. The Ragnarok surprise attack is, as far as I know, a failure. But, I don't see Takeda, Yukita, or Siegfried. Not even Naruto. The only one from Ragnarok out there to face them is Berserker. The second fist. Akisame seen the gloves on Freya, the Roman numeral for 3. I see. So stronger than you. Freya nodded, looking to him. By a good amount. He's second in command for a reason. He may not know any real disciplines, and mainly is just a street fighter with no illusion of style, but he has an incredible amount of natural talent, and an unbelievable amount of luck. Humming in thought, Akisame digested that. A natural fighter with no style to speak of is someone better than a highly trained weapons master. That was concerning. But he had to believe in his disciple, had to believe Naruto could handle himself. Finishing up with Freya, wrapping some bandages around her midsection, he put away his supplies. Would this be out of the ordinary, I would be worried. But given my trust and confidence in Naruto, I think I will not fear what is to become of him. The others, however, I may wonder about. Freya put her jacket back on, lowering her shirt. Just as she did, the door opened, making her sit up, ready for anything. Who's there? The huffing and puffing was heavy as whoever came through the door had run. Standing up a bit, after catching their breath, they spoke up. I came as soon as I could. Everyone all right? Siegfried's got Takeda and Yukita, they were pretty beat up from the sounds of things. It was Nijima, still all dressed up from the party. Miu came up to him. We're fine, but are Yukita and Takeda okay? Did Siegfried say anything about Naruto? Nijima took a deep breath, calming down. Siegfried said they were okay, they were hobbling here anyway. He should be coming up soon. Seems they got into a tangle with Berserker. Takeda said Naruto saved them from getting further injuries, and stayed behind to fight the second fist himself. Grunting as he got up, Thor was worried. Is Siegfried all right? Did he get into the fight too? Nijima shook his head. No, he only found Takeda and Yukita. Siegfried got lucky. The fact Naruto was unaccounted for was a little worrying to the group, Miu especially as she grabbed her jacket again. I'm going out to look for Naruto. Make sure he hasn't gotten badly hurt. Sadly she was stopped by Kensai who smiled to her, and she seen Akisume smiling the same way. No need, my dear. I'm quite sure he will be fine. I have faith in him, as do the rest of the masters here. Please, just wait for him. Miu frowned at that but sighed. She knew he was strong enough to take on Odin, at least as an equal. But she still worried about him. Fine, I'll trust him to get back here. As she was putting the jacket back, the door opened up and everyone turned to see three people coming in, Takeda and Siegfried carrying Yukita. Siegfried smiled and tipped his hat. It seems we've come in time for treatment. Sorry for this late hour visit. Takeda sat down and waited his turn, Yukita getting fixed up by Akisume. Siegfried looked to Thor and started asking about how badly he was hurt. Miu, however, was more concerned with Takeda and what he knew of Naruto staying behind. What happened? Takeda smiled nervously. Well, me and Yukita were walking off back home, when out of nowhere we get stopped by Berserker. I figured our luck was rotten, going against the second fist. I was right, but I managed to hit once, my best hit too. He looked serious though as he looked to Miu. Berserker isn't to be trifled with. Whatever skill Naruto has, he better use every technique he has or fail. Yukita lost first punch, and was practically beaten afterwards, and it took a few strikes to finally take me down. I'm lucky to even have the ability to walk. Miu looked shocked at that. She huffed and ran, grabbing her jacket. That's it, I'm not waiting for Naruto to come back. I'm making sure he's alright. Akisume and Kensai looked to each other and nodded. Akisume continued to work as Kensai opened the door for Miu. Let's go then, Miu. You'll check up on him, and I will be making sure you don't interfere. Miu smiled at that. Sure, she was being disallowed to help in the fight, but at least she was allowed to go. Thanks Kensai. Let's get going. Kensai smiled and gestured for her to go. Ladies first. As she ran out he followed. The clinic was silent as Akisume helped everyone. Yukita, who was the one being worked on and having his bones reset, looked to Akisume. As the offer, still up for grabs. When Akisume looked to him questioningly, and stopping to let him continue, Yukita laid back down and looked up. To teach me, jujitsu, that is, the offer still on the table. Akisume smiled at that and nodded, continuing his work. It is. Whenever you are ready. Though it is a trial, so you understand before you fully commit. Seeing Yukita accept that he smiled. He seen the potential for the one before him, and hoped Yukita could handle it all. XXX Naruto and Berserker XXX. With a resounding thump, Berserker and Naruto both hit each other at the same time. The two had started off with a heavy hit, Berserker himself with a rushing straight, trying to close the distance on Naruto, and Naruto broke his Miotode for a dangerous move, guiding his far arm forward along Berserker's and hit his face with a back fist strike as Berserker clocked his shoulder. The result was immediate as Naruto staggered a step back and twisted from the heavy hit, and Berserker, who didn't expect, or see, the hit coming, had to recover from being dropped to the ground by the back fist knocking him aside. Berserker twisted around from recovering and rose a wild uppercut kick at Naruto, only for Naruto, who seen it coming from behind him, twisted to the side and around the kick before sending his own up into Berserker's leg. This caused Berserker's grounded leg to raise up and the momentum he carried to transfer and spin him backwards, Naruto himself dropping the kick and hopping back. Berserker hit the ground hard, but he was lucky not to hit his head. Getting up, propping on his elbows, he looked to Naruto, who was now in another stance, this time one he studied as his Muay Thai stance. Not bad. I usually get a few hits in before someone can touch me. Maybe you're different and I can finally get a good fight. Seeing Berserker sit up and start rising to his legs, Naruto narrowed his eyes. The martial arts isn't about finding a good fight. But seeing as you don't practice yourself, I wouldn't put it past you to not understand. Berserker scoffed, smiling a little at that. Notice that, did you? You're right. I don't study a single style. I fight like I want and how it works on the street. I don't need some flashy stance or techniques, just the experience to beat weaklings to the ground. Naruto was not about to argue. Berserker was not going to let talk persuade him. Still, he would put his own 2 cents in. Keep telling yourself that. It's not about flashy moves, it's about discipline. It's about inner strength, heart and passion. You find stronger fighters as masters, not some kids on the streets. That seemed to make Berserker focus on the topic. Blowing a bubble from his bubblegum, Berserker hummed. You're saying there's strong fighters in the martial arts. I've faced against many styles and students of those fancy schools. None gave me a good fight. Naruto would never insult a discipline, but it was an insult to call most schools and teachings a true discipline if it was for sport and casual use rather than a lifestyle. Real martial artists don't come around looking for a street fight, or a sports tournament. They live and breathe the discipline, and work hard to get so strong that even you are nothing but a weakling. Berserker stood still, contemplating that. Spitting his gum out, he rose a hand up, gesturing Naruto to come after him. Beat me, and I'll believe that. Till then, enough stalling. Seeing Berserker was ready, Naruto charged forward. Getting close, he stopped and struck out with a fierce elbow. Berserker blocked it, easily stopping it, before striking with an uppercut to Naruto's chin. Naruto turned his head and chin away and the fist and arm glanced by his ear, but he ignored the ringing as he had reared back and sent a heavy punch into Berserker's chest, sending him back. Though Berserker wasn't as done with his own strike as Naruto thought, as Berserker's elbow dropped right as his fist made contact, and Berserker clocked Naruto in the head as he himself pushed Berserker with his own punch. Naruto staggered forward after Berserker before letting himself fall to his hands and knees, willing himself back to orientation and ignoring the pain in his skull. Berserker stopped himself from falling to his ass, but did set on a knee for a moment to stop himself from going any further backwards. Naruto groaned as he stood back up, seeing Berserker already gotten up himself. He could see why Takeda had trouble, and why this was the second fist. Naruto saw it clearly. This fighter had a natural talent as a fighter, a very big talent for it. But Naruto knew Berserker wouldn't be able to stand against a true martial artist such as himself. Berserker didn't let Naruto get back into the ready stances he knew, and spun around with a harsh swinging back kick, flailing around with it. Naruto ducked under it, and saw himself in prime position for his next move, shooting both legs out forward and against Berserker. This was fruitless to hit the brawler, as he caught the kick and landed on his kicking leg and swung his other leg up, bending it and swung back, aiming to break Naruto's leg. Naruto seen this and bent both legs, pushing off the ground and lifting himself, the kick from Berserker missing. This got Berserker's attention and he let go when Naruto swung with both arms, aiming to clock him from an awkward position. Naruto pulled back his feint and grabbed Berserker by the cot and let both legs drop. When one leg hit the ground, Naruto punched back, his other leg kicking at Berserker's landing leg and pulled hard. Berserker seen what was going on and was not quick enough to stop from being tripped up, so he used the momentum given from Naruto to rise up his knee, kicking into Naruto's stomach. This was too weak to do anything to Naruto, as he hardened his stomach muscles and pulled harder, and lifted Berserker up before slamming him into the ground, making him skid and roll a foot or two away. Naruto huffed, recovering and getting back into Muay Thai stance. His attacks were whittling Berserker down, he knew this, but Berserker wasn't giving up. In fact, he was living up to his name, as he got up quickly and started his assault again. Huffing more, Naruto switched to Tiger Kung Fu and pounced, slamming a double paw strike against Berserker and ripping downward, but Berserker saw this coming and grabbed Naruto by the back of the shoulders and lifted him up, flipping him overhead before dropping him to the ground. Naruto was going to hit against his back, so he tensed his arms under him at an angle and let gravity take him. Upon hitting the ground, Naruto's angled arms shifted him backwards, rolling him onto his shoulder as he pushed off and kicked his legs forward, or up in this case, and flipped onto his front, managing to avoid most of the pain from that throw. Berserker was smiling now, clearly amused. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he got onto his feet, and Berserker chuckled a bit to himself. Finally, someone who knows how to take a little pain. You have no idea how boring it is when you win every single fight. I face off against people so weak I can win easily. But you, I can finally get a real challenge. Come on. Then, Naruto. It was as if a switch was flipped. Naruto could feel the energy rolling off Berserker as he became manic, and suddenly burst into a rather hasty and wild attack. Naruto could see clearly, this man was a Do fighter, and he knew how to use that instinct to a high degree. What he didn't figure was how Berserker would use his Do energy, because he had no time to raise his arms to block the incoming punch that sped at him in shocking speed, getting clocked by the strike and flipped back on his chest. Berserker had suddenly become much faster and stronger. It was as if the fight had only given him strength, much like the legend of the warriors he is named for. Groaning, Naruto stood up and held his head. The fist had a point to it and he felt the mild cut on his forehead, bruised and drawing blood. What did you do to me? Berserker was grinning manically, pointing to his one forehead. That's a target. It's where I'll be aiming from now on. Better watch yourself, because I'm not going to show you any mercy just because you seem to be skilled. Naruto was confused about this when it suddenly clicked. Berserker was not going to be holding back at all. Every bit of his strength and speed was going to be aimed at him, and he needed something to focus on. The first few minutes had Berserker just aiming in general for a body part or two, now he was going to be less in control of his movements, so he needed a focus point. Naruto needed to stop holding back as well. Berserker didn't wait a single moment more, and kicked forward, aiming for the head. Naruto didn't bother putting up a wide area when he pulled upon the Sei energy flowing within him, and went straight for his greatest technique. Just as the kick was coming into his range, he pushed the leg out of the way and twisted to the side, closing his guard. The closed guard helped for the next strike, as Berserker landed and flipped backwards, swinging an awkward kick from above at Naruto, only to have it blocked, diverted away when Naruto flowed around it. Berserker caught himself and rolled back to an upright position, but was met with a swinging snap kick to his forehead, sending him flying back as Naruto kept his leg up, aimed for any attack, and guarded. Berserker twisted and caught himself from hitting the ground, recovering quick and turning to Naruto, rushing for the next attack. A right hook came in before being taken back. He twisted, swinging an unnatural back kick. That was a mistake, as Naruto dropped low and dodged it from underneath. Sadly, Berserker wasn't about to miss, and hopped during his kick, momentum carrying him and letting him swing up at Naruto. Finally he managed to strike, as Naruto's targeted forehead was struck with the second kicking leg, forcing him up again. Berserker was grinning at finally hitting his mark, and was trying to find ground, only to have it find him when Naruto grabbed his foot and pulled, the kick giving him the needed pivot point to stop Berserker from getting away. With a hard thump, Berserker hit the ground, his leg bent behind him and Naruto pinning him to the ground with a leg. Berserker stared up at Naruto, grinning more. My attacks aren't sending you to the ground like they would to most. This is fun. Naruto knew his pinning move would be broken, but didn't expect Berserker to risk his own leg, twisting and tried for a blind punch to the leg pinning him. Naruto twisted at the last moment, the punch doing nothing but force him to bend his knee and kneel. Somehow, Berserker twisted around, even though he was no longer pinned, his hips twisted around and he swung home another kick, aimed right for Naruto's head. Naruto let go of the leg he was holding and caught the kick, looking back to Berserker. It was sheer luck that Naruto managed to keep standing as Berserker went for the spine blow, clasping his hands together and dropping them like hammer against Naruto's back, sending him to the ground. Berserker rose up and grabbed Naruto, not letting himself even get grounded before picking him up and forcing him back to the ground, aiming to break Naruto's back totally. Even through the pain, Naruto tensed his body up right at the last moment, taking the fall and took the blow without a single reflection of a vertebrae. Berserker caught himself as he slammed Naruto to the ground and rose up a free leg, dropping it at Naruto's chest. Naruto went for the reckless, slamming his fists together at the ankle of Berserker's foot an inch from his chest, and broke it with little trouble. This caused Berserker to cry out in pain, and from being so unbalanced from the failure of his strike, he fell to the ground on his hands and rolled away, holding his foot. Naruto huffed and kicked himself up, looking at Berserker, hissing in his own pain as Berserker got his back good. Berserker growled and went to ignoring his foot, standing back up, wobbling from the pain. You fucker, you broke my damn foot. Naruto glared at his opponent. And you almost broke my back. You wanted to fight me, beat me to a pulp like you did my friends. Don't expect me to leave your bones in one piece just because you want a good fight. Berserker snarled at that before chuckling, grinning again. Ha, that's it, I'm feeling it. You're no ordinary fighter, you don't fight for yourself or fun. You're fighting for others. You've actually lived and breathed fighting, you aren't an amateur with an ego. Hell, Takeda was even getting better, he managed to bruise my ribs a bit. Come on, it's not over yet, this is too much fun. Let me see how strong you really are. Naruto looked in shock as Berserker was on him instantly, even with a broken ankle. Sending a flurry of wild strikes at him. Naruto blocked the hook to his right, the uppercut, and the swinging back elbow before having to jump back from the kick coming his way. The feint worked, as Berserker jumped forward and swung for Naruto's head, aiming for the target. Naruto was clocked once more and sent down from the downward punch Berserker gave, and hit the ground on his back, almost flipping. Berserker caught himself, having to stagger on his broken ankle before he stood up, finally balanced. Naruto groaned, holding his head as he got on his hands and knees. Berserker was waiting for him to do that before coming back and kicking at Naruto. Naruto blocked it, but the strike was so strong it lifted him up on his feet. Being in midair and unbalanced made him the perfect target, Berserker running into him with a hammering straight, a rising hook, and more one after another, slamming into Naruto's chest and making him stagger back until finally Berserker stopped, rearing back for his final strike. You're through. Naruto was utilizing his Kempo teachings, strengthening his body against every blow, but having to stop and move to keep himself standing before the next strike. It took all his concentration just to stay standing and not let a single punch affect him beyond a bruise. Thankfully, the final move of Berserker was a setup one, giving Naruto the time to stop playing defense. He needed to use the one move he would never use unless it was a last resort. And right now, he knew Berserker was not giving him a choice. Berserker's strength and speed were increasing with every minute the fight kept going, as if it was feeding him. He roared with a wild punch, using every ounce of his strength to knock Naruto out. Naruto, however, had other plans. The punch was suddenly turned into a broken arm, as Naruto grabbed it, twisting it to face upward and pushing back at the pushing forward opponent, and the arm bent and broke at the elbow. Berserker suddenly stopped the assault, screaming at his broken arm. But before he could recover, he was suddenly flipped backwards, his vision going blurry and his face hurting. Berserker felt his leg suddenly pop and screamed when he was thrown sideways into the ground, and his arm was caught. Screaming at his arm being broken and taken again, he looked in horror at Naruto, who twisted his arm around, a loud popping forcing Berserker to kick randomly, trying to shove Naruto away as he reached for his arm. Naruto didn't allow that as he pulled the arm and lifted Berserker up before slamming a fist into Berserker's face, sending him to the ground, his head hitting against the pavement. Berserker was shaking, grabbing at his arm and holding it close, his eyes staring in horror. Naruto was huffing, his body shaking as his muscle pulsed. What? That hurt. Sorry, fixing bones in the middle of combat is not my specialty. Sorry I had to break anything at all, but you left me no choice. Your arm's still hurting. Berserker was breathing heavy, his body turning cold at the glare Naruto was giving. It was as if Naruto was trying to contain an explosion within his own body. Berserker rubbed his arm, trying to ease the pain. Suddenly he felt numb. No pain at all. That suddenly clicked with Berserker's horrified mind, as he felt no pain, not a single ounce of it. His arm was full of annoying needles, but no real pain at all, and he could actually move it around a little. His ankle as well, it didn't feel broken. Slowly, Berserker uncurled and moved his arm around, seeing it had every range of movement. Lifting and stepping on his leg a bit, he felt nothing, not a single twang of pain. Looking to Naruto in shock, he could only wonder what happened. I don't understand. You broke my foot. My arm bent the other way around. How can they be fixed? Naruto was still shaking, huffing. Remember I told you about real masters. I train under several. 2 of them are masters at the martial arts and the medical arts. One specializes in bone therapy. Dislocation during combat is a habit of his. I learned how to break and fix bones from him. I could break you and fix you if I really planned to. Berserker could only look in shock. He couldn't question that, he had just felt it himself. This fighter was capable of more than he realized. Fear suddenly hit him, the same fear he felt before joining Ragnarok, seeing the power radiating off Naruto. Stay back. Stay back. Naruto saw Berserker suddenly change from a fighter into a runner. He took a deep breath and calmed down, his body relaxing back to normal slowly. When his body stopped shaking, he walked up to Berserker, who was trying to crawl backwards away. He knelt in front of Berserker when he hit a wall. See the power a real martial artist has. Now you know what it means to fight for your friends, for a noble cause. No half-assed training will stop a true friend from helping those he cares for. I think I proved I am a capable fighter. Seeing the sudden change in Naruto's demeanor, Berserker calmed down. It was over, he had lost. He seen Naruto offer a hand. Grabbing it, he was helped up. You're something else, Naruto. Smiling at that, Naruto nodded. You're a capable fighter yourself. If you actually trained and found a discipline to pursue, you would find a whole world of people like me, fighters on your level. All you would have to do is leave Ragnarok, and follow your own path. Berserker was surprised to hear this, but smiled, scoffing and fixing his messed up hair, which was only shifted around to be more spiky anyway. I guess I will. Fighters as strong as you, huh? Stronger even. Naruto turned and waved off. My masters would probably be able to knock you out in a single punch. If that's anything to go by. Berserker smiled, seeing Naruto start going. He remembered the last time, and only other time, he had lost. Frowning, he looked to Naruto. Naruto, hold up. Seeing Naruto look back to him, he shone his glove. The fists. The first fist, Odin. He's no ordinary fighter. I've only lost to one other before you, and it was him. Be careful. He said he wanted you broken, and said if we didn't beat you, that he would have to stop holding back. Whatever you did, he isn't giving you another chance to surprise him. Whatever you did to me, your muscle spasms, the same thing happened to me when he beat me. But he may have it under control, unlike you. Naruto was stoic, not letting that surprise him. Turning and waving off, he left with a final farewell. Thanks for the tip. See you around, Berserker. As Naruto started walking back home, he was stopped by Mew and Kensai coming up to him. Naruto, you okay? Takeda and Yukita came by the clinic, told us about Berserker. You okay? Was he tough? Chuckling, Naruto smiled. He was. He lived up to his title. Every time I hit him, every minute the fight went on, he got stronger and faster. Seems his name of Berserker was appropriate. He got me a few times, pretty hard. He groaned, still feeling his back. Kensai hummed and came up to check. Seeing a big bruise, he sighed. This is more than just a hard hit. He nearly broke your back. Having Naruto take off his shirt, Kensai checked him over. Mew gasped seeing this though. Kensai was also not happy. Whoever this Berserker is, he was much tougher than you must have realized. Naruto chuckled nervously, sighing. He was. But it's not as bad as it all seems. I'll be fine with some rest and a good soak in the hot springs. Mew looked to Naruto, worried. But what about all those bruises? You can't ignore the fact you're covered in welts. Naruto smiled to Mew softly. Honestly, it's not that bad. It stings, but I've had worse from Apachai, and he's broken my bones before. Kensai knew that to be the truth. Naruto was right, it wasn't nearly as bad as it looked, but it was still bad. I think we'll be up more of the night healing you. Though I think you'll be fully healed by the day after tomorrow. Naruto smiled more, putting his shirt back on. Though he hissed and winced from the back injury. Let's hope. Come on, let's go home. Sorry I worried you all. Mew shook her head and smiled, hugging Naruto. It's alright. Just knowing you're alright is fine by me. Let's go. Everyone's waiting for you back at the dojo. With that, the three started back to the dojo. Naruto, however, had a single question in his mind. There's only one fist left. After this cowardly attack, trying to finish us off in one strike, what should our next move be? Do we wait for him to come to us, or do we finally take the fight to him? He would have to talk to everyone, but he felt sure that Oden was waiting for him either way. The only thing bothering him was what Berserker told him. Does Oden know that technique? If he does, then it'll be a harder fight than I realized. I used Seto Gui, and it took a few moments to calm myself down from it. It was the first time I ever used it in a fight. If Oden knows how to use it, and holding it, then I might have to take it a step further. I hope that will not be the case, the normal one is too dangerous as it is. Morning rose quietly, such was the calm of the hurricane that was the final confrontation between the Shinka and Ragnarok. The first strike of the storm hit in the dead of night, surprising all, but now everyone was preparing for the chaos ahead. Sighing, Naruto looked to those in the clinic. You're certain? We should just go after them. The group with him, many injured, had agreed on a plan of action. It seemed it was do or die time for the Ragnarok conflict. Everyone wanted to end the suffering. Standing up, groaning as she held her ribs, Freya looked to Naruto. Oden wanted you and the Shinka done by the dawn. If not, then he would gather the entire gang and come here full force. That would take a whole day. It didn't bode well for them. If they waited, Oden had planned for a full force army under him to finish whatever had tired them out the night before. If they went on the offensive, their current wounds and fatigue would deter their ability to effectively take down Oden and Loki, whom the latter no doubt had some kind of defense ready for them. Deciding to chime in with his own thoughts, Takeda huffed, standing up, even though he was tensing in pain. I second the offensive. If we wait, we'll be playing into Ragnarok's hands. Oden and Loki will have planned their assault to the last man, made sure to destroy us. If we go in before they are ready, we have the upper hand. It took a moment for that to set in, but Naruto nodded, looking to everyone. If you all think we should, then I won't argue. Though being the first to strike is bad karma, I think after the cowardice Loki and Oden have shown so far they are deserving of a counterattack. Looking to Freya, he had one question. Do you know where they are now? Before the third fist could speak up, her double-numbered counterpart walked through the door to give his own answer, his cape floating into view as his blue eyes piercing with determination. I do. Sorry, but instead of waiting for them to attack me, I already went on an offensive of my own. I went after Loki's shadows, and this morning I had found one who had some information I was looking for. Turning to their new arrival, Naruto could only smile. Hermit, glad you could make it. I am guessing you're going after the last remaining two Ragnarok has on their side. Turning to his blonde counterpart, Hermit scoffed. Odin's not even on my radar. I could care less if he fought me. Though I know I would probably lose against him. No, my only target is Loki, the bastard. He's going down, and I'm going to make sure of it. So as long as you steer clear of me and him, I'll bring you guys along. Because I know exactly where Oden and Loki are held up, building their attack force. With a bit of confusion on that point, Freya stood up, holding her side still. He's not at our usual hangout. Shaking his head, the blonde in the hoodie crossed his arms at the door. Not there. I had gone there first, in the hopes of catching Loki unguarded. So I went hunting as you and Berserker went after the Shinka. No, he's at the main base, the one we've barely been to in the industrial district. That gave Freya pause. Narrowing her eyes on Natsu, the third fist relaxed her body. That's unnerving, but expected. If he's there, then he thinks this battle under him. I never thought someone like him would cowardly avoid a fight by sending in others for the kill, but it's clearly the place he's preparing. It's the best place to gather the entire gang. Scoffing, Hermit just turned around. It doesn't matter where he is. I'm going to fight Loki. As long as you all want to finish Ragnarok, you're welcome to follow me, but don't expect my help or anything. Looking to Naruto, he narrowed his eyes. I'm not doing this for any other reason than a distraction to clear my path so I can destroy Loki myself. Got it. Nodding, the other spiky-haired blonde stepped up to the actor. Understood. Thanks. Give us half an hour and we'll follow you there. Though Natsu stayed in place staring at his rival for more than a few seconds, he turned and waved off. Don't keep me waiting. I'll be at the front gate. Turning to his friends, Naruto stepped up to the center of the room. Hear that? We have 30 minutes. You're right, if we stay put for too long we'll be attacked before we can leave. We need to hurry if we are to finish this. And I suggest I go alone. What he got in return was a rather loud screech of everyone confoundedly shocked at his declaration and say at the top of their lungs one word. What? Shaking his head from the sonic wave of shock, the young man looked at everyone, pointing to each as he spoke their name. Freya, your ribs are broke, even fixing them you'll be in pain for a good day or so until they sit back into place. Fighting an army will only hurt you again. Takeda, you and Yukita are both bruised and battered to the point you can hardly stand, let alone fight. Kasara's own bruises aren't too good. The only ones in fighting shape are Mew, and just barely Thor. Last night had everyone fighting harder than ever, and we can't have anyone dropping in the middle of the fight. Mew walked up and poked her fellow blonde in the side, which made him hiss and hold the spot. Look who's talking, Buster. You're in no shape to fight either. Acting all tough is going to get you killed out there. If no one else can go, then neither can you. Looking up to Mew, Naruto stared defiantly. I get hurt training all the time, and I still fight. I can do this, even with some bruises. Kasara jumped to her feet, grabbing her hat to tug it firmly on her head, only to grab Naruto by the collar and lower him to her level. Listen up, dumbass. We're not letting you go alone. You're hot shit, I get it, we all do. You've fought us all and beat us all without getting so much as a few bruises. But if you're going to try logically putting us in our place here to rest, then listen to your own advice and stay put too, because as tough as you are, you're not in any shape to continue fighting in the same way as we aren't. So like it or not, if you're going, and we all agreed to go, then you better just shut up and let us follow, because we're going to anyway. Got it, hero. Having to separate the two, Mew pushed Kasara back a bit in order to get her words in. She's right. We're going to come with you. This is one fight we all can no longer avoid. This is it, and we're not going to sit down and wait for you to just come back in pieces, or get hurt even more than you already are while we rest and recover without you. You promised you wouldn't go alone anymore, and you'd let me help. Let us all help you with this. Smirking, Kasara crossed her arms and nodded in agreement. Let us help you for a change, you knucklehead. We may not be able to fight very hard, but we still got some fight left in us to use. Takeda himself struggled to stand up and walk to Naruto, with Yukita around his shoulders. Yukita smiled and put a thumbs up, trying his best to stand up too. We're not going to let you down. With a deep breath and harsh sigh, Naruto slugged forward a bit before standing up tall. All right, if you're all stubborn, like I am. But here's the catch. You all have to be standing on your own. Yukita, Takeda, if you can't move on your own, then stay put. At the very least, only those who can stand and move on their own. Looking at each other, the team agreed. Yukita limped to bed and sighed. Fine, but you better punch Odin in the gut for me, Naruto. You too, Takeda, give them hell for me. A couple Valkyries under Freya stayed as well, but most of those in the room stood and were ready. Mew smiled and looked to Naruto. Then let's go. We shouldn't keep Odin waiting. Turning to Yukita and Takeda, he had an idea. Can one of you call Nijima and tell him to get Siegfried? The wrestler grabbed his phone. Yeah, I'll tell him to have the music genius find his way to you guys. With everyone in agreement, they went all out and up to Hermit. Nodding, the spiky-haired blonde disciple of Ryazanpaku opened the gates. Lead the way, Hermit. With a nod, Natsu started walking. Just remember, clear my way and stay out of it. Loki is mine. Odin is yours. XXX Ragnarok HQXXX. Sitting in his chair, overlooking the room full of people gathering, mostly just a few dozen, Odin hummed in thought. Berserker had returned, but in bad shape. He left a note and went back out on his own. Tossing the note aside, Odin grabbed his glasses and stared cleaning them. That's not the report I was hoping to get. Ever since Kasara took the 8-fist slot, even before that, Naruto has been throwing every single fighter we've sent his way into the ground or into his own gang. And now, the only ones left are me and Loki, whom I fully suspect to betray me at one point. I guess I'll have to make him an example to the rest and start from scratch again. Putting his glasses back on, he stood up. Everyone, he called, and the room looked up to him. We're going to be doing things a bit differently. I want you all to gather Ragnarok's remaining forces in the main room. We're going to give Shinka a piece of our mind. Even their strongest would never be able to remain untouched by Berserker's strength, they must be on their last legs. What say you to smashing that last leg and getting your revenge? With a loud roaring cheer from those under him, Odin set them forth to build the final assault. They won't escape this. Even if they could move and fight me, they have to find us first. Enough time to build an assault, or a defense. Smirking, Odin chuckled in excitement. I think it's time to show Naruto just what kind of power I have. He caught me off guard before, but now I am prepared. XXX 3 hours later, Industrial District, front of Ragnarok HQ XXX. Naruto and the fighters of Shinka stood in front of the warehouse Odin had made into a fortress. Walking up to the doors, they all noticed it was too quiet for them to be arranging an army within. This doesn't feel right. They must either be waiting for a report, or have set up an ambush. Huffing, Natsu put a hand to the large door. Either way, this is the only way in. We don't go in, and they attack us anyway. I say we fight our way through. Though some might have wanted to wait, Hermit just threw the door wide open, the clanging of the metal doors ringing loudly. The inside was rather dark, closed off and isolated. Walking in, the Shinka fighters soon found themselves in the middle of the compound's main room. Looking to Naruto, Kasara scoffed. I think you were right. Ambush. Same tactic against the previous gang that Ragnarok fought. As part of my initiation. Just as she said that, lights burst on in brilliant fashion, showing them in a large stage of the warehouse. And all around them were the lesser goons of Ragnarok. They still technically had a way out, but they refused to go. They had chosen to come in and fight, so they would stand and fight. Freya grabs her staff pieces and gets ready. It's about time. I suppose Odin will want to make a speech. My, I suppose I am found out. Good job, Freya. You were always an intelligent one. Clapping above them was Odin, who was silhouetted by the lights, his glasses gleaming. I suppose I shouldn't disappoint. I am sure you all know that this is our base of operations. Truly, this was an old fort we built at first, outside of any outside forces. But soon we grew into many, and needed a bigger and better base. Though, that one was compromised by the knowledge of the fists who joined Shinka. I didn't really expect you to join them on the night you fight them upon my orders, Freya, but I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, given the nature of the Shinka's influence. I still don't understand why you suddenly change sides, or suddenly have morals, but regardless. This is where you will find you have made the wrong choice. For a moment there was only agreement and murmurings of the Ragnarok goons awaiting to beat them senseless. But soon Thor himself let out a thunderous roaring laughter. Mistake. A choice gone wrong. I doubt it, Odin. You see, we joined up with Naruto for one reason only. He's just an amazing guy, and he taught us we don't need to beat people senseless to show them we are strong. In fact, we've only gotten stronger since we finally broke out of the rut of soul-crushing guilt you led us into. So I say, you are the one who has chosen wrong. Naruto is going to end this once and for all, and that means you, Odin, will finally meet your match. Shinka will remain the name of hope for this city, and it starts by ending your tyranny. Though before anyone could agree, there was a sudden melody playing by voice. What a tremendous solo, my friend, you've always been one to say your mind. I am quite saddened I was not invited to this fight, but thanks to Nijima, I have found you all, and came prepared. La tilde. Everyone turned to see Siegfried smiling and twirling into the spotlight. Turning to his friends, he tipped his hat. I am sorry I was unable to help last night, however I am glad to help now. Grinning a bit, Naruto looked over to the man. I knew Nijima would get my message. Thanks for getting here, Siegfried. Smiling, the composer got ready for a fight. I cannot wait to hear the coming crescendo of this symphony, our friendship song ringing out to me in beautiful victory. Sitting down, Odin just watched on as he commanded his troops. End them. Without further request, the entire army of thugs rushed the Shinka from all sides. With a heavy thud, Thor slammed a foot to the floor, shaking the ground a little before bowling over several of the thugs. Behind him, Takeda started pumping his fists, slamming them into jaws and ribs, clocking anyone flanking Thor with his skilled left punch. With their own flanking maneuver, Freya and her Valkyries pushed into the middle of several others, using their abilities in tandem to slam several knives away and knock a couple heads together, their supporting of Siegfried's flowing moves keeping Ragnarok's forces from landing a single blow. As they fought, up above, with Naruto watching as Mew and Kasara protected him, Odin noticed someone behind him, several people. So, you chose now to betray me, is that it, Loki? Coming from the darkness stood Loki, smirking. Well, I had hoped to have Berserker here to help take you down, but seeing as he's left for good, I think it's fitting to tear you down from your throne here, with only you as the opposition. I'd like you to meet my 8 fists, none have lost, unlike everyone else who you've recruited. Turning around, Odin went to Loki, pushing his glasses up. As that's so, I feel it's time to cut you from the team. They've not lost. We'll see if they keep that streak. Naruto could only watch as Odin tore several people from up above a new one, taking them down and throwing a few overboard. Looking to Hermit, he could see the fellow blonde fighter getting impatient. Sadly, Loki was slowly becoming out of reach. With Shinka's fighters slowly thinning the mob of Ragnarok's lowly thugs, Naruto started taking down a couple thugs to finish them off, helping Hermit take the load off. Get up there. Loki's pulling a move of power. Odin might just destroy him before you get the chance. Wide eyes grew, almost not paying attention before locking in on target, Hermit tearing down those who would take advantage of his sudden stop from shock. Carving a path, Hermit broke through and started to the stairs. Not until I'm through with him. It took only a minute to rush up the stairs, but when Hermit finally did, he watched as Odin held Loki by the collar of his jacket, knocked out. Seeing the first fist throw Loki to the ground, the Kempo fighter growled in frustration. He was mine. I was going to take him down. With little care, Odin cleaned himself up, fixing his cuffs and ascot. Well, he did try to overthrow me. Sorry, Hermit, but you were too slow. I must say, I hardly expected you to join Shinka. Out of the 8 of us, you and Loki were the only ones I figured would never join their side. Loki wanted to overthrow me, but you joined the Shinka. Clutching his fists, Hermit only growled. He knew he couldn't take on Odin, not without getting himself killed in the process. Like hell I've joined them. They were just my distraction to get to Loki. Damn you, Odin. Grinning, the skilled leader of the group fixed his gloves. Well, you can thank me by dealing with the Shinka, if you are not with them, that is. Seeing the former subordinate stay put, almost ready to fight still, he simply shifted into a subtle stance, his feet spread and his body weighted. Or, would you rather I be your opponent for such ambition, seeing as I did deter your plans? Before Hermit could really say a word, a hand was on his shoulder. Looking behind him, Naruto had come up. What? Can't you see I'm debating taking this asshole down for ruining my chance at Loki? Activating his gauntlets, the knuckle protector sliding into place, the fellow blonde walked ahead of him. Sorry, Tanimoto, but Loki isn't here. The real Loki is down below. As he said that, both Odin and Hermit looked to the fallen Loki, and Odin simply removed his goggles. Seeing the green eyes, and the slight scar, it was clearly his double. Well, seems he had no faith in his new crew. He'll probably be back begging for his safety from my wrath after this. Looking back to Hermit, Naruto smiled. Or, we have him downstairs, with the thugs beaten and him trapped waiting for you to take him out. Go on, it's the least we could do for giving us this far. Walking up to the overview, Tanimoto saw Loki just waiting in the spotlight, everyone surrounding him and the thugs of Ragnarok beaten. Without even turning around, the cloaked figure smiled. Thanks, Naruto. Now, kick Odin's ass for me. I'll be busy. With that said, he jumped down several steps forward, and Odin put a hand up, stopping Naruto. Wait. Seeing the blonde stop, he continued. Before we begin, I want to know, why do you look familiar? I remember back during my childhood that there was a boy with whisker marks. He did something, told me I would never grow strong if I kept trying to pick fights. Naruto also remembered. He remembered the name as well, the boy who was stubborn. And I remember you now. I didn't think it would be. You carry yourself rather calmly, much more so than back then, Ryuto Asamiya. Narrowed eyes shone through glass as Ryuto stepped up towards Naruto. Ah, you were that boy. The one who was so scared of fighting to hide in a tree. And now you're a capable fighter. But I doubt you are as capable as you seem to be. Even if you trained as hard as I did, you'd never know true strength. Sliding into stance, his arms both out front and his palms upward, his hands open as if holding something as he took the karate stance he loved, Miyotode, he kept his eyes on the purple-haired thug. Says the ruler of a street gang who's not perfected his Sikuken. That gave the man in the white suit a grin. Oh, this again. You see, after our former encounter, I had started to worry. But then I figured out why. I underestimated you. I had simply lowered my guard. I had let myself become complacent at the top. I trained, you see, trained and fortified my skills with my Sikuken. You used something I have never seen before, but that was no Sikuken. It was not a field of defense, it was some hybrid style you created to throw me off. You shook my faith in my skills. But now I see you for the equal you are, and my defense is as ready as ever. It is still the perfect defense. A single sigh came from the blonde as he closed his eyes in disappointment. You may very well have gotten better with that first step towards the perfect Sikuken, but you are naive. Fine, show me how perfect your defense truly is. Coming in quick, Naruto held nothing back, rushing in and sending a heavy strike aimed straight for Odin's chest. What shocked him was Ryuto's defense kicked in, catching his arm and tossing it aside, reaching in and throwing a strike of his own quickly in return. Though Naruto had not activated his own, he twisted and blocked the strike with his arm, taking the brunt and being pushed back. Spinning on his heel, the disciple of Ryuzanpaku kicked with full force, his foot rising up with power behind every contorted muscle. However, the two was deflected by the thug's own Sikuken before he moved in and kicked for Naruto's other leg, making the blonde jump up and continue his spinning momentum enough to swing his other leg up and catch Oden's head. As quick as his thinking was, Naruto's kick did nothing once Oden ducked under it and slid closer, taking a deliberate step forward in order to slam a fierce palm strike into Naruto's back, sending him back a few feet. Catching himself, Naruto tucked and rolled on the ground, spinning on his feet and turning to Ryuto, taking a low mantis stance. So, he wasn't kidding. He has perfected this Sikuken. He's reading my moves, but also taking into account the rhythm. His perception is unique, almost as analytical as Kisame when he tells me to mix my moves up between several in a combo to combining different styles in a single strike. I guess that is why he took the name Oden, for he can see my attacks and predict them. Oden's grin shone through as he widened his stance. As you see, I've strengthened and perfected my defense. You cannot beat me when my Sikuken is up. Shifting his stance, Naruto got ready. You've been holding back, as have I. You're right, by normal means I cannot get through without willing to kill you. And I refuse to kill. Chuckling, Ryuto ran forward. And that's why you lose. Gingner. With a piercing thrust, Naruto went to block the attack. This, however, was fruitless. Oden had a never-missing spear, it seemed, as the attack was rightly named for clocking the blonde right in the chest, just below his arm. With that strong strike, one that had the intent to kill, Naruto could only lessen the blow by jumping back. However, between his jump and the force of Oden's strike, he slammed into the back wall, the industrial building's thin walls bending to his body. As he tried to get up off the wall, Oden was on high again, slamming another into his chest, slamming him into the wall and crunching it further. The third time, however, Naruto blocked the strike enough to take the brunt without choking on his own blood from the pain, though the force was enough to finally break the wall, throwing him out the back of the building. Down below, Mew could tell what went down. Naruto. With Hermit slapping Loki down, finally beating him senseless, Mew raced up to see the hole in the wall. Oden jumped through, and she saw through the hole Naruto getting up, and Oden walking up to him. Get up, Naruto. Getting up, Naruto coughed a bit, standing on his own. Oden smirked as he started cleaning his glasses from the dust. You're not as strong as you keep making yourself out to be. You tell me my defense is not perfect, yet you've not hit me once. You claim to know a form of the Sikuken that is even more advanced, however you are not using it against me. And here you are, wind being knocked out of you, and bruises to show for it. On the roof of a side building, Naruto and Oden stood, staring at each other. From a good distance away, the masters were watching with keen eyes, standing on higher buildings on the other side of the industrial yard. Akisame could only frown. That young man, I recognize the intent he has. The same one I felt some years ago. Before Naruto. Even the master of Kempo himself could only nod, his eyes hidden by his hat. His killing intent could only have been built by the remarkable master. And if he knows the Sikuken. The old man Hayato himself rubbed his beard in contemplation. The Sikuken is a rather difficult skill to learn for those without a say energy attuned to their instinct as a fighter. It would seem, however, that this young man was either deceived, or thought unimportant. If his master truly is whom we believe, then he has failed to give his disciple the proper skills to truly unlock his potential. Though I believe this was to perfect his already learned skills and techniques, whilst Naruto has a variety of experienced learned skills to choose from. Sometimes, quantity is not as good as quality. That is why we have given Naruto proper skills to perfect, building blocks to lean on as he trains on those he learns later. A beer thrown to the ground, Sakari sighed as he grabbed another from his jacket. You know, I find it hard to believe he is even letting this punk throw him around. Why not just tear him apart already? He has his own Sikuken or whatever, right? Watching from on top of Apachai, the weapons mistress Shiger saw what Naruto was doing. He is leading his rival to a real challenge by bringing his strongest techniques. She could see Naruto was trying to force every ounce of power from his rival, but it was starting to show just what made Ryuto strong, his greatest skill of perception. Standing up, the blonde stared at Oden with a piercing gaze. Your Sikuken is strong, stronger than I could have thought at first for someone who doesn't realize the potential for it. You can count my moves, you can predict my rhythm, as spontaneous as I attempt to make it, and see it all coming. You use that with your Sikuken to stop any attack from hitting you, but also find ways through my own defense. Clapping, Ryuto smiled brightly. Well done, you've figured it out. It's remarkable you can even keep talking about the potential wasted by my perfect Sikuken, but I have to give you credit, you are not as weak-minded about martial arts as I had thought. To tell you the truth, the only thing making me stronger than right now would be my disability. That was a questionable remark. Looking at Odin, he could only find one disadvantage to who Ryudo was to make him say this. It was something insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Your glasses. Your sight is hardly a disability. Taking his glasses off, Ryudo smirked evilly, chuckling even. That's the thing. I have trained my near-sighted eyes to become a strength. Normally, taking my glasses off would cause my near-sighted disability to stop my ability to fight effectively. However, I've trained it with my Sikuken to not only work in my favor, but also combine my skills with my Sikuken to truly see the moves of my enemies for what they are. I do not focus on your movements, I focus on your KI. Tossing his glasses down, Odin took a stance again. Without them, even if you did have a better version of the Sikuken, you would never hit me. Sighing heavily, Naruto moved into a new stance, one that slid an open palm to his side, and an upside-down fist in front of him, bent near his body. You would do well, Odin, to watch closely. For you not only are wrong, but it would be a shame to beat a worthy fighter such as yourself when I am being underestimated. With eyes sharp, Ryuto watched closely, feeling for the blonde in front of him, stepping closer as he watched the new stance he took. Soon, his eyes grew wide, seeing a thin aura around his opponent. What is that? It was from last time as well, I sensed it. This strong ki. With a deep breath, eyes calmly staring at his opponent, Naruto spoke softly. Ryusui Sikuken. The second form of the Sikuken you say you perfected. I have almost perfected this second form, but even I have not fully realized the potential it holds. There is one final form of this skill, this defense, and even I am unable to utilize it. Let us see how well your Sikuken lasts against my own Ryusui Sikuken. Staring each other down, Naruto and Odin were at a standstill. Even though Ryudo was shocked to feel such an amazing control of ki, he scoffed. That's it. Your aura of ki is so small it's going to be easy to get through. I told you before my Sikuken is the perfect defense. With little hesitation, the first fist charged forward with a quick palm strike, aiming straight for the kill shot to the heart. Though he soon found out why Naruto's aura was so small, it was stronger that way. Sliding to the side, Naruto dodged the strike before turning his fist up and slamming it into Ryuto's face, punching him to the side and using his open palm to push the incoming strike away. Recovering, Odin quickly used the momentum to lift a leg and snap kick Naruto in the gut, though Naruto was quickly flowing from one move to the next as his punching arm redirected the kick away, and stepping forward he sent a heavy palm strike into his opponent's side and pushed him off his feet, onto his ass. Quickly pushing himself back onto his feet, the first fist glared at Naruto as the blonde slid back into the stance he took on before. This ki, it's not a bubble of protection, it's like a suit of armor. He's using it to make subtle moves, dodge without straining his stance or body, flowing like water around my attacks. He's using my own strength against me. So he really does know the Sikuken. Calm down, Ryuto, he's only as strong as you are with this technique, even if he is telling the truth about this second form. With a quick deep breath, the purple-haired leader of Ragnarok took a stand, hands out in front of him and rolling around him in a circle before settling aimed at Naruto. Take your best shot. Walking calmly towards his foe, Naruto stared into the bare eyes of Odin. Gladly, stepping close to the aura of ki Ryuto surrounded himself with, Naruto quickly threw a single punch, only for his opponent to block it with ease, pushing it aside. Though Naruto didn't stop with that as he lifted a kick, again blocked and pushed away, not penetrating the field of protection Ryuto created. Several strikes failed to punch through, kicks and jabs not causing a single bit of damage, until Naruto got in close and shifted his stance, planting himself and twisting his torso in time with a flying fist straight for Odin's face, forcing itself through his block, and almost clocking the man before his sidearm came up and pushed the fist aside, blocking the blonde's strike. Though what happened after threw Ryuto for a loop, literally as Naruto grabbed his forward arm and the one that blocked him near Odin's face and pulled him close, a rising leg clocking Ryuto in the stomach before being lifted and thrown back behind Naruto with full force, slamming him into the roof. With a few rolls, the purple-haired young man recovered and stood up, taking stance quickly to defend any rush attacks that didn't come for him just yet. Instead, he looked in surprise at Naruto standing passively, looking at him with a fierce look. We both used our Sikuken, yet I broke yours. See, no defense is absolute. Scoffing, the first fist was at a loss for words. Not only did his opponent break his defense, he was right. There was further advancement to the Sikuken. However, he wouldn't let that stop him. His Sikuken was only as good as his ability to read movements, which gave him the ability to use his most powerful attack. And he has yet to miss a single shot. Alright, then show me exactly how great yours is. Racing forward, Odin struck with a rapid thrusting palm attack, pulling back before hitting and then sending the attack flying again as a feint, only for Naruto to duck under the second shot after pulling back from the first. Lifting a foot up, Odin attempted to kick the ducking blonde, but was swiftly dodged by the blonde's effortless movements. Coming up quick, Naruto latched onto the risen leg and kicked the other out with a swift sweep, knocking the thug leader into the air and then using all his power, leverage, and skill, tossed the purple-haired young man into the roof, and rolling away. Rolling onto his feet, Ryuto got his Sikuken up once more, and just in time as Naruto came in, grabbed his hand and bent it back, causing him to drop to a knee. Kicking the knee back, Ryuto was brought down, only to be lifted up and tossed again to the side. Getting up, the leader of Ragnarok finally got it. He saw the pattern. Without even hesitating, he rushed in again, this time sending a heavy strike against Naruto with incredible speed. Naruto got ready, but as he started to slip to the side, he saw the strike turning to meet him. Not able to dodge it, he rose his arms and blocked the strike, only to be thrown back by the powerful strike. Dragging his heels, the blonde managed to stay on his feet as he went down the roofing. He stood at the edge, looking at Ryuto. Smiling, the first fist kept his palm up and out. You're using jujitsu, not bad. But you'll find not even your Sikuken, advanced as it is invincible. My Ginner attack never misses its mark. With focus, Naruto started to walk back up to meet Ryuto, and with a swift change and upbeat in step, he swung a kick up at the first fist, rolling the leg around and then snapping it down at his legs, the first kick just barely reaching but not hitting the dodging opponent, and the kick causing Ryuto to change and shift footing before throwing yet another Ginner attack. This was what Naruto wanted as soon as the purple-haired young man said it never missed, but was a little surprised by the arm, as he was dodging backwards, to keep going, and then turn with him again as he twisted his body. Thankfully his arms were up and ready as they caught the attack, and the force was dulled. But just enough to push him off balance again. Slamming a foot down behind him, Naruto forced himself back up and met Ryuto's next strike, dodging under the swinging leg and catching the Ginner, but this time he switched to jujitsu and pulled the arm with him, tossing the purple-haired opponent down and into the roof. Oden was not having any of this, getting back on his feet fast and quickly countering with a few jabs, though missing as Naruto threw up his defense, making it harder for the all-seeing fighter to land a normal blow. Though even if his last attack with Ginner had been pulled away from him, it landed against the blonde, so with a few more punches, a hook to the head and a three-prong feint, he threw another Ginner, landing it on the dodging opponent right into his gut, but it was lacking force from the blonde's graceful abilities. Groaning a bit, Naruto jumped back, getting some distance as he was holding his stomach. Though not enough force to truly cause a bruise, it landed right into his still healing ribs. He could see it now, the Ginner attack. It was hitting him every time. You're reading me, like a book. You're predicting my movements to land your punches. I thought as much, but I didn't take into account him reading me would give him a chance to land a blow, just dodge my own. He is still using his defense as a crutch. He's had endurance training, pain means nothing to him. Smiling, Ryuto chuckled, raising his bubble of protection. Perceptive. Indeed, I am uniquely able to perceive my opponent's movements, and read their next move based on the flow of battle. And as long as I know how your body is going to move, I am able to turn my strike with you, and land it without fail. Without warning, the first fist ran up and threw a rising axe kicking down against Naruto, who dodged and then caught the leg, only for the next leg to rise up with Ryuto when the blonde tossed him back. Didn't take much for him to dodge the next kick as the purple-haired fighter flipped and then threw another Ginner, almost managing to penetrate Naruto's defense. Slamming into the risen arms, the attack knocked Naruto back and off balance, long enough for Ryuto to sweep kick and catch Naruto's leg, knocking him over. Standing over the blonde, Ruto smirked. You thought I was below you, didn't you? That my skills were under par, and lacking against your obvious superior defense. Well, now you know. You weren't the only one holding back. Rolling quickly, Naruto got back to his feet, jumping away from Ryuto and calming down. Even if he mixed combo attacks, or changed styles, he wouldn't be unpredictable to someone who's as perceptive enough to use their skills as a way to land a blow like this. He needed to not move like himself. You've seen past my own rhythm, as wild as it may be. But I have one perceptive skill that even you will never have. Oden glared at the blonde, and popped his knuckles. Oh, and what is that? Closing his eyes, he pictured the rhythm, the movements of his masters. My rhythm is compromised. You will always hit me, even if your Sikuken breaks you will never miss with Ginner. But you need time to learn that rhythm. So as long as it's not mine you're facing, you will be unable to land a blow on me. That confused the first fist, but after a minute, he started chuckling. So you want me to fight someone else, to give you breathing room? That's rich. Sorry, but you wanted to fight me bad enough for us to get even this far. I will not let you just run away. Shinka dies today. Rising his arms, sliding a foot forward, Naruto opened his eyes and looked at Oden with a dull but purposeful glare. You do not face Naruto and his style of 5 different martial arts, several styles each. You now face the imitations of his masters. Oden, you will always hit me if I use my own unique wild style, but I've trained and sparred with my masters, watching every move. Your perception gives you the ability to read my movements, not only to dodge, but also to attack me. My perception granted me the ability to perfectly imitate my masters and their movements. And with it, you now face a mirrored version of the greatest jujitsu master in history. Before Odin could even think, Naruto was on him, landing a single chop to his gut, and a sweep under his far leg. Being grabbed hard by the arm, he was tossed in the air, flipped and rolled in a wild manner before being thrown. Swirling in the air, the first fist could only look with wide eyes as the sky and roof changed placed several times over before landing on his back, rolling towards Naruto a foot before stopping. When it was over, Odin gasped, getting up and trying to get on his feet. Though it was difficult at first as his whole equilibrium was rather flipped, but as he got up he could only take a single look at Naruto before blinking, and just as he opened his eyes, he saw triple of the blonde before he disappeared. Turning around, Odin was frantic, trying to figure out where Naruto went. He could see blurs, only a few images before they sped past. What are you ga? Naruto stood behind him, an elbow in the young man's back and a death grip on his head. I'm using my master's rhythm. And it's beating you. Flipping the first fist again, the purple-haired leader of Ragnarok was flipped up before behind tossed upside down into the ground, skidding on his chest before falling flat. Standing up tall, Naruto watched as Odin was getting back on his feet. Groaning, Ryuto stood back up, glaring at the blonde. Hoo-ha you only switched styles, you're not imitating anyone. Huffing, Naruto walked forward. I am still using Japanese jujitsu, what was I using before? Thinking on it, Ryuto knew he was right. Same style, but this rhythm was different, and the moves were faster and more fluid. It was as if he was truly a master at the art. Running up, catching his balance, he rushed in with another Gingnur, but this time it finally missed. Not knowing the rhythm of Naruto's master, whom he was imitating, he missed as Naruto dodged it and slipped his front leg out from under him. Falling forward, the fist tried to catch himself, but was pulled hard by the collar and flipped on his back again before laying flat. Naruto turned and started walking away. You've denied my abilities before, you do so again and I will finish you right here. I asked for your best, and I get desperation. It is a true martial artist's will to wield his skill like he would his own soul. Respect, dedication, passion, and strength. But not power, rather endurance. Strength of heart, loving yourself, loving and respecting the skills you work so hard upon. To be a master, one must always understand that being a martial artist is not about power, or defense, but rather interpretation of one's soul. Unity of body with its soul, of mind with the heart, of your entire being. As one, you create art. Now stand up, and show me yoursa. Getting up, Ryuto glared at Naruto. You still think you've got me beat, huh? Well, that ends here. The first fist knew his attacks would always fail if he went charging, but he was not about to let Naruto lecture him on what his entire life led up to, for this moment. Kicking for Naruto's feet, he hit solid muscle as Naruto caught it, keeping his legs cemented to the roof. Seeing Naruto come in for a quick jab, he blocked it to the side, activating his Sikuken and grabbing Naruto's arm. Pulling back, he tried to shove Naruto off balance, only for Naruto to run in and grab his arm, twisting it. Odin twisted with the movement and with his other arm pulled Naruto's hold on him away and kicked for his chest. Though the blonde was ready and lifted his own leg, kicking hard against Ryuto's knee and forcing him to the ground before twisting him again and tossing him to the side. Ryuto stood back up instantly and looked to where Naruto had been, only to find him gone. Once more, he fell victim to Naruto's willow step and was sent flying and flipping forward from Naruto's swift throwing maneuver. Landing on his hands and lifting himself on his feet, Ryuto shook himself of his dizzy nature and turned again. Raising his Sikuken, he could finally see Naruto's moves, his rhythm, and as the blonde went to attack again, he fired with all his strength and his palm struck Naruto in the chest, his Gingnur attack landing on the blonde and sending him back. Smirking, Odin quickly came in with another, hoping enough would finally end this fight, but was suddenly struck by a double palm strike to his own chest, causing him to slam to the ground and slide back. Grunting, he looked up to Naruto, who was smirking with a twinkle in his eye, a playful nature but one with a serious glare behind it. You found out how to fight against my master Akisame, but what of his greatest friend, Kensai Ma? Hya. Rising his leg and slamming it down, Naruto caused the roof to collapse under Odin, but the first fist was fast enough to react and get out of the way. The fight was a back and forth battle, with Naruto shifting from his styles of his masters, who were cheering him on, seeing themselves and laughing at their antics he also managed to mimic. Kensai's movie-like attack sounds, Apachai, nature to say his name every other sentence, even Sakari's laughter and tough facade. Though every time Naruto landed a blow, Odin would find his rhythm out and fight back. Both were bruised, Naruto was bleeding from the eye as a Gungnur smacked him clean against the brow, a swollen cheek, but Ryuto was having trouble standing, his legs shaking his arms stiff and bleeding from the mouth. After fighting G like nearly all his masters, Ryuto was fed up with it. You Eren, a true fighter, you're just a monkey. Imitating what real masters do. Naruto huffed as he stood back up, smirking wide. How else do you learn? You imitate your master's moves, and practice until they are perfect. That is how you learn the arts. However, it takes a very special technique to imitate someone else completely. Actors do it every day, but they do it with fictional characters, or those long past. I do it with those I learn from 20 hours a day, every week, for years till the day I die. I can master their styles perfectly like a mirror, because like a mirror, I am to learn their moves as my own. It's not a copy, it's a study. Glaring at the blonde, Odin groaned in pain as he lifted his arms ready for more. I doubt you have any more masters to imitate. Wiping his eye clear of blood, he smiled. I imitated Kensai Ma, Akisame Ketsuji, Sakari Shio, Apachai Hopache. I have 2 masters left I train with. One I cannot imitate, as he only trains me specially when I am ready. The other, however well, she trains in deadly weapons. So normally, I cannot imitate her unless I have a sword in hand, or a staff at the ready. Chuckling at that, smirking as he found the end of Naruto's ability to change his rhythm, Odin raised his Sikuken once more. So unless you have a weapon, you're unable to use that imitation technique on me again. Which means this is the end of you. Grinning from ear to ear, Naruto looked at the first fist. Oh, you misheard me. I said normally I cannot without a weapon. But the first thing about martial arts, when you learn the difference between weapons and fists, you learn how different they are. And then, you learn how similar they are. A weapon is only an extension of one's arm, which is an extension of oneself. So you see, a true martial artist's real weapon is their mind and body. So I turned into a weapon, so I can use a style I created myself. It's still a work in progress, but I'm sure you will find it intriguing. Turning his body sideways, Naruto rose an open knife hand at Ryuto, his other steady in front of his chest curled, as if grabbing something. His feet angles like an L, he closed his eyes. I decided to name this, Karada no Buki. Or, Weapon of the Body. I made this so my master, Shigure, may fight as a weapon herself. So now, you face her at her best, through my eyes, and my skills that she has taught me, combined by the other master's abilities to fight as if I wield a sword. Opening his eyes with a deathly glare, straight-faced with ki washing over him, Naruto spoke softly. You will see how a real fighter grows. Without as much as a step, Naruto was already in front of Ryuto, who recoiled back in surprise. But it was too late, as Naruto's arm came down like a slashing blade of a katana, cutting Ryuto's shirt clean off, and even causing a red burn going the opposite way. Double a slash. Ryuto regathered his footing and ducked under the next strike, only for Naruto to grab his arm, which he was raising up to uppercut the blonde, and brought it up fiercely before striking his curled hand like a claw into Ryuto's chest, and sent him spinning back, his chest scratched by Naruto's fingers. Turning again, Odin was caught by the thrusting stab of the katana arm, which slammed into him with a punch, but the feeling of being stabbed was irrefutable as the force penetrated him, causing him to fly back and slam into the roof. Changing stance, Naruto now held a fist up in front of him, and a knife hand at his side. You fell quick. Lia Standa and face. Master of all weapons. Shigure Kasaka. Watching from afar, Shigure looked in surprise. Her eyes wide as she watched Naruto fight with the precision of a weapons master, but the skill of a fist fighter, mixed into a style he imitated her clear as day with. He held no sword, but even the most skilled eyes could be fooled by his abilities. He created a fist stylia based off of weapons. Rubbing his beard, the old man Hayato hummed and chuckled. He had been practicing something in secret for some time. Told us it was just some special moves he wanted to combine into his own attacks. Though I realized pretty soon he was attempting to do something special like this. Just never thought it was ready yet. Watching Naruto slam his fist into Ryuto like a morning star, Shigure started feeling her heart fill. Her student not only took her lessons to heart, but used them to make a style his own, something to use her skills even if he had no weapon in his hand anymore. A style of weapon attacks, based off the skills of the other masters. And he said it was for her, to help her fight even without a real weapon. He thought of her during his training to make this, all for her. Blushing and holding a hand to her heart, she looked to Naruto, and saw in his eyes herself, but also his respect for her and her skills, her teachings, his care for her as a person. She felt her heart skip a beat, and finally found the answer she sought before. She did indeed have love in her heart for the young man. Narua. Toa. Though the masters saw it in her, they ignored it to watch their pupil take down the first fist once more. With a hammering fist to the shoulder, and then a slicing uppercut that once more reddened the skin, Naruto changed hands and with 2 knife hands, cut down Ryuto with a double falling blade attack, causing the purple-haired opponent to slam into the roof and lay flat. Stepping back, Naruto glared at his opponent. You fire. Within a second, everything went from calm to storm, as Ryuto stood up like a blur with speed, and Naruto was unable to see coming the fist that struck him in the face, breaking his nose and causing him to fly back. Holding his nose in pain and snapping out of Shigure's persona, the blonde looked in shock at Ryuto, who was exuding ki he only ever felt once, and he knew exactly what Ryuto had done. Standing there, Ryuto's body was grown with muscle, his eyes blank with power, and his grin wide as power filled his body. You may have the ability to wield your master's skills better than your own can match me, but even they will fall to my greatest power. I was saving this for when we gone to fight Yomi, another gang of martial artists as skilled as we were. But you've forced my hand. Now you feel the power of the Seido Gui, my master's greatest technique. Getting over his shock, Naruto glared angrily at Oden. Standing up, Naruto popped his nose back into place, holding it to stop the bleeding. That technique, you dare use it, knowing how dangerous it is. How long will it take until your body crumbles, huh? You'll never practice again if you don't stop using that technique. Laughing loudly, Ryuto got ready to fight. You're just jealous you've not got this kind of power. Besides, I don't need it very long, just enough to beat you to the ground and kill you. With a blur of speed, Ryuto was on Naruto, and with a single punch, Ryuto finally found the strength to beat Naruto in his imitation technique. However, his arm was suddenly caught by Naruto, and stopped dead still. Looking in shock, he watched as Naruto's muscles grew as well, and with little explanation, Naruto slammed a punch into Ryuto's gut and then kicked him back. Thankfully, Ryuto's strength was enough to keep him from being knocked back on his ass, but he still felt the pain in his gut from the attacks. Looking up, he saw Naruto, a ki he never felt before washing over him, petrifying him, a ki so strong it rivaled his master's, a true killing intent. No, it can't be. His eyes glued to Naruto, his body shining red with a power he wasn't questioning how he was using, he growled at Oden. You're an idiot, a moron. Seido Gui will kill you. No single style, so polarity, can use it for more than a minute. If they even attempt such, it crushes their body, their bones, their muscles, they lose all ability to even lift a finger in a fight. People can die using such a skill. Fighting the ki that was crushing him, using his own to push back, Ryuto yelled at the blonde. Says the one using it. You'll be just as useless as me when this is over. You will die. Roaring, Ryuto rushed in and started attacking, but every punch was dodged, every kick blocked. Even grabbing Naruto was ineffective as the blonde just slammed his arms off with his own fists, standing with power even Ryuto was finding hard to believe existed. Naruto took a deep breath. You are using a technique that is obsolete. You are drawing one energy in, and the other out, and controlling the power like a jar with a lid. I am making my energy flow, both in and out, letting the power fill me, and release. That is the true power of Seido Gui. That is how you control it. And even then, it is dangerous. One false move, one mistake in controlling your ki, you die. But with my polarity, I am able to control both keys. You can only control Sei, as Do is foreign to you. And for that, you will fall to your own power, because you forgot what martial arts is about. In the blink of an eye, Naruto was on Ryuto, a fist to the cheek, a kick to the knee, and throwing him into the roof with such power it cracked under the weight before he lifted Ryuto again and punched him with both fists, causing him to skid up the roof. Ryuto could only gasp and try and get up, try and fight back. As Naruto punched, he blocked, only for his arm to snap to his chest, try and kick the blonde, but his leg was swept up and his face grabbed, slamming him back to the roof on his back before being brought up and thrown again. Ryuto could only hope to dull the pain, try and fight, and it took everything to hold his own power steady. He could feel it growing. His Seido Gui was starting to cause pain, but he worked through it to punch Naruto, only for the blonde to catch his hand and twist it. Screaming out in pain, he tried to grab the hand, only for Naruto to strike his elbow and cause his arm to fall flat to his side. Ryuto looked up in fear, watching Naruto as his eyes flashed red, his body exuding even more ki. Just before he could try and defend himself, his body locked up, and intense pain forced him to spasm on the ground. But as soon as it began, it was over as Naruto knocked him out, a punch so powerful it knocked the first fist out cold, and his body lay limp. As his body softened, letting the power release and cancel itself, Naruto sighed heavily. He watched as Ryuto's body turned the same, but as he checked the young man, he felt it. His spine was broken, he was paralyzed. It was completely severed from the hip down, and his left arm was broken, more manageable than his spine. Fixing the arm, Naruto stepped back and then sat down. As his fatigue hit, his exhaustion tiring him, he sighed deeply. You idiota, now you've ruined any chance at a rematch, or growing even stronger. Though just as he was about to get up, many surrounded him. All his masters behind him, facing a man in white picking up Ryuto. My, I must say, you've taught this one well, Hayato. Maybe next time he'll be even stronger, Hayato glared at the man heavily. You've lost that chance when you taught your student the technique. Now he will be unable to fight Naruto again. Leave, before we make you. Smirking, the man stood up. Before I go, allow me to speak. Humming, Hayato knew he deserved one sentence, so he granted it. You have one sentence, and then be gone, Ogata. The darkness is coming, Prepare yourselves for its wake. Don't you go believing Ryazanpaku will remain the strongest. With that, Hayato got the message clearly. To him, it was as clear as cleaned glass, even if it confused Naruto a bit. Glaring harder, Hayato wanted Ogata gone. That was 2 sentences. With that, Ogata left swiftly before he overstayed his welcome. With the key gone, Naruto felt weightless, and with the vertigo of such, he fell flat, losing consciousness. XXX Ryazanpaku, an hour later XXX. Groaning, Naruto stirred back to consciousness. Sitting up, he looked around him as everyone was gathered, bruised but smiling. Laying back a bit on the pillows, he smiled as well. Well, seems we won Mew came up and held his hand. We did. With Odin beaten, Ragnarok is finished. Tipping her hat, Kasara smiled brightly. Never had any doubt on it either that you'd do it. Rather impressive, using every technique you ever learned on that guy. Even he couldn't keep up with you. Nodding, Naruto sighed and smiled more. Thank you all for believing in me. You know, ever since Ragnarok even started hunting me, I felt all the stress of it pile on. Making me force myself to focus and clean things up. With it all Avera it's all gone. That whole pile of stress lifted knowing Odin and all who followed him are either beaten or freed from such a life he lived. Maybe now I can relax, and train properly. Kisame came in rather abruptly. Sadly, that won't be the case. Getting everyone looking at him funny, he came by Naruto and looked rather serious. You've beaten one foe of immense strength. As I see it, you've only fought harder since that first fight with the karate student at the school. Now, you faced against someone who could almost beat you if you weren't careful, or had the proper training. Progression only goes further, and you know this. The only thing to do now, is work harder, and grow stronger than those who are much more skilled. Takeda came up to the jujitsu master. Wait a minute, you're telling me he's not going to get even a single break? Come on, he's hardly able to stand at the moment. Naruto was smart enough to figure it out. No, he's right if what Ogata, that master of Ryutos, is telling the truth. There's something big coming up, and it threatens everything Haria. Right. Nodding, Akisame sighed. It is true. This darkness will be your greatest challenger. We've no idea who it is or when it strikes. You'll have little time to recover, but I feel that won't be a problem. As soon as you are feeling better, it's time we tell you what you'll be up again. Turning to the others in the room, he involved them. What you all will be up against, if you continue to come here. Everyone was gathered in the central room, Naruto and Mew sitting with Takeda, Freya, Yukita, Kasara, Nijima, and everyone else included. Even Siegfried was there alongside Thor and the Valkyries. The elder spoke calmly. Ogata said that the darkness is coming. Ryazanpaku and its masters know exactly what he means. It is now time we told you, Naruto and Mew, what this means. Your friends here decided to support you in this, but take my warning. Any who are here that do not attend this school will be in grave danger. This is your last chance to back out when you know better the forces you face. Akisame took the reins after that. As you may know, we practice the way of life. Katsujinkan. When we fight other martial artists, we believe in mercy, in yielding, and to make friends with those who share our passions. It is one reason why you sit here now, as friends to Naruto and Mew. However, Ogata practices the way of death. Satsujinkan. When he fights an opponent, it is to the death. Either he wins, and kills his opponent to prove his strength, or he loses and dies because he forces the hand of his opponent. The Chinese Kenpo master took a deep breath before taking over. Ogata is not the only one who practices Satsujinkan. There are many masters who are just like us here at Ryazanpaku. It has been a debatable battle between us for ages, and our masters before us, and their masters before them. Just as the older generations before us taught disciples and gave us strength to face the ones who kill with their passion, we pass it down to those who are worthy. Mew, born from the elder's line, has already been training since she was a kid for this. Naruto came not so soon after her training began, and since then we have had them training to become stronger, but instilling the disciplines of Katsujinkan within them, to promote life with their martial arts. Deciding to make things simple for those before him, Hayato finished by telling them exactly what this meant. But the masters of the Satsujinkan, under the name Yami, meaning darkness, have their own disciples they have trained. Our own have caught their eyes now. Ogata is one of them, and Ryuto was a disciple under Yami's guidance. This will be seen as a challenge, and Naruto and Mew will be up against the full force of Yami's students. We do not know how many they have, but we will find out eventually. When they come, they will be just as strong as Ryuto, if not stronger. The only two here I know who can meet them head on and as equals are Naruto and Mew. The rest of you may very well die if you continue to follow them into this battle. You have a choice, now, of what it is you wish to do. Continue walking with Naruto and Mew, training as hard as you can to fight this threat if they target you, or you stay away. No longer will you see Ryazanpaku as a place to meet or talk, or even practice. You stay home and wait for either our loss or theirs. And if we lose, we may very well lose Naruto and Mayua. Hearing this, the entire room fell silent as the stunning news finally sunk in. It was daunting to hear that there were masters of the caliber they see before them trained students either at or above the caliber of Naruto and Mew, and now it's become a war. In a way, Kasara felt guilty for that. As soon as I noticed Naruto's picture, I wanted to see him. Because of my reputation, I had Ragnarok target him, and it evolved into a full-blown fight to the end with Ryuto, causing this entire situation to begin. Though she wasn't the only one feeling a little guilty for helping Naruto pursue Ragnarok, and end their wild ambitions of control. But she was the only one who knew Naruto when they were younger. He helped her, taught her how strong you can be protecting others, even those you don't know. And seeing him succeed against Odin, she knew also that having a group of friends would make them all stronger, including Naruto. Standing up, the redhead adjusted her hat on tightly and spoke up. Like hell. That stunned the room. Mew and Naruto looked back at her like she grew another head. No one ever yelled like that to the elder. She stood her ground. However, what have we been fighting for here? I know a lot of us came from Ragnarok, under that asshole Ryuto. We all saw the torment of others, participated even, became numb to it. But look at us now. Instead of divided in a gang of violence to show our strength, we're sitting here before some of the greatest martial artists in the world, and are friends with Naruto and Mew, two of the nicest people we've met. You can argue we're nowhere near their level of skill, but if these two blondes taught us anything, it's that your strength doesn't come from training, it comes from being together, caring for others, and being around friends. I don't plan on sitting down waiting for a fight. As a martial artist, someone with a passion for it just like Mew, Naruto, all these masters, I will practice, grow stronger and better to help fight Yami and their students. I plan to prepare, and to help kick their shit in for messing with my friends. To say that the group around her was stunned before was an understatement. But soon enough, she started seeing her words take effect. Yukita stood up and bowed to the masters. Akisame, you offered to train me if I could handle it. I think this is a perfect time to ask for your training. I don't care how hard it is if Naruto can take it, so can I. Freya smiled as she stood up as well. I'll get my grandfather's help, but I, too, will train harder to face Yami's students. I stand with Kasara and my friends behind me. Thor, Siegfried, all my students, we will not back down just because there are stronger people coming our way. The resounding support became a cheering support of everyone behind Naruto and Mew. Mew smiled as she looked at Naruto. I guess we made some awesome friends. Nijima was clapping fro the side, making everyone turn to him. Whilst that's all well and nice, Shinka isn't going to stand down against the rising threats. When it came to the success of our little group over Ragnarok, we've caught the attention of others who sought to destroy Ragnarok before us. Some group called Yomi. I can only assume they must be connected to Yami, but no proof is found yet. The fact is, we've all got a lot on our plate. The question now becomes, what's the next step? I assume the masters here have a plan. Hearing the question, Akisame started touching his mustache and humming. Well, we've been thinking of several scenarios, but we're currently thinking of waiting for the first attack they make. Nothing we can do until they finally bring their head out of hiding. So any plan we have thought of may fail if we don't know who they send and using what style. Knowing the master well enough to know when he was lying, Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose. So basically no plan, just wing Ida Akisame-sensei, you're not making this easy on me. And by the end of the week, I'm going to get an even harder training session, I would imagine. Kensai stood up from the rest of the masters. That's right, but this time you're going to be practicing more with the Elder. It's about time you started using your full Mune nature in a fight. The only one of us with this ability is the Elder after all. Stroking his beard, Hayato looked seriously to the blonde young man. That's right. You'll need every advantage. I will be training you and Mew at the same time, making sure you both are strong enough to face the coming storm. But until then, rest and celebrate your victory against Ragnarok. The falling counterattack of Yami won't come for a little while longer, they do need to organize after all. With that said, Naruto and Mew both bowed to the masters. Mew looked to Naruto in the corner of her vision before looking back to her grandfather. We'll be ready. XXX 5 days later XXX. Now that things were finally over, they were settling into a calm state of mind. No more looking over your shoulder at school, no more worrying when the next strike would be. But now the impending doom to come was making them all fidget. Especially with the new threat of Yomi in Ragnarok's wake. As the Shinka alliance were seated, Nijima pulled up a slideshow. There have been several gangs using the martial arts as a way to show power, Ragnarok was just one of them. And thanks to Freya here, we know more about Yomi. Standing up so everyone knew she was talking, Freya pointed to the screen. Yomi was an upcoming threat we were building against when Naruto and Mew started taking out our scouts. Instead of finding strength through domination, we were taken out by Naruto and Mew, who slowly grew their ranks under our own. Now that Ragnarok's bad is cut away and gone, and the good found a better calling to their strength here in Shinka, were less of a force in number but stronger overall than Ragnarok ever was. Yomi was a rival starting to come up and were about to attack us when everything happened, so with Ragnarok gone, Yomi would find the next martial arts group. That would be us, Ragnarok defectors and Ryazanpaku disciples. We managed to find their own scout, going out and kicking down any doors and taking down any other groups. They call her Spark. As she spoke, many slides came into view of the destruction Yomi has caused. Then the last picture was a camera showing a video of some biker chick crushing a few people in an alley, with sparks flying off her body as she spun on the ground. Mew could clearly see why. She has metal studs or something on her suit, she's sliding around on her joints and they cause sparks on the ground. Though Naruto knew this already, he decided to bring it up. She's protecting her body against falls on the concrete. Her style, Zui Quan, is dangerous on asphalt if you don't have some decent clothes or some hard muscles. Her style, the drunken fist, is dangerous. Takeda scoffed at that, smirking. So she's drunk. Well, that's not so bad. Just tap her head. Though his assumption was struck away when Naruto answered him. The drunken fist style was created by several older Chinese legends of drunken immortals for the Taoist monks. Imitating that of a drunken man to effect as a grappling and throwing style, but still powerful striking techniques. The movements are so random that it looks like they are drunk, causing distractions and making sure the opponent is unaware of what their next strike will truly be. Though some natural drunken fist fighters do grow in power, speed and technique from drinking, it's not required. In a way, it's like fighting a much more ridiculous Siegfried. Yukita hummed at that. So you're telling me she's a strong opponent? How strong are we talking here? Nijima pointed out the sparking form of the fighter. She's taken out 2 dojos, several gangs, and dozens of independent street fighters. I'd imagine she's on a similar level as Freya is. But I'm not totally sure. We'll have to be careful with Hera, and seeing as we're still using this classroom as our HQ, I think it's time we expand. We need a new base of operations. Kasara spoke up. When I left Ragnarok, and now with Ragnarok gone, my place is free. The old warehouse is my dad's, he gave it to me when I asked for a place or my friends. Seeing as I only have a few of those now, might as well let you guys come over. Thankfully it's not that much a walk into the city from Ryazanpaku, so it's easier to get to. Smiling, the alien freak turned the slideshow off. Sounds like a plan. I'll get a couple guys to help make it a little less dusty and broken. Might as well make it a real warehouse and office area for the group. That gave Kasara a small frown. Hey, what are you thinking of doing with it, you freak? XXX a day later XXX. What the hell? Tell them to stop it, you alien bastard. Kasara was being held back by Siegfried from hurting Nijima, as he was helping fix the warehouse, but also adding all sorts of stuff that wasn't very traditional to their martial artist side of things. Sighing, his ears twitching, Nijima turned to her with a bored look. Listen, information is key. If we don't have the capabilities of finding out who's going to come kick our rears, we're just asking to be beaten bloody and broken. Besides, this is just day 1, have some faith. We have rooms coming in, and information side of the Alliance needs its space, but your main room, as well as many of the rooms near it, will be for practice and training. I was going to ask you for help getting that too, because if you're going to be at your peak, then you need the gear to do it. Only you know what that is after all, right? Growling still, Kasara was not happy about this. You stop painting it corporate blue and I'll consider not ripping your throat out. Humming at that, Nijima decided to nod. Alright, I'll stop the painting, but we need to look good too, so we'll have a whole session to do with the color palette. Sound better? Relaxing a bit in Siegfried's grip, she tapped the guy's side to signal to let her go. As he did, she huffed, fixing her hat on her head after it fell off. Don't you go too crazy here, or I will plant my foot up your ass, you alien monster. Rushing off to find something to drink, she left. Asshole. As she was passing the bus station, she noticed a young girl who was following a map on a napkin. As she seemed lost, Kasara thought to give a hand. Excuse me, you okay? You're kind of nervous around here. New to the city? The pig-tailed girl nodded as she looked at the rough and tough Kasara. Yeah, I am. I come from China, a rural place indeed. I usually find my way with landmarks, but everything in this city looks the same to me. And I am having trouble finding my way. Mind giving the map my father gave me a look? I'd appreciate the help. Grabbing the napkin, the redhead hummed as she followed her own head's map with the napkin. Her eyes blinked when she found a destination. It was her warehouse. The map was definitely pointing straight to the new Shinka Alliance HQ. This was no coincidence, as she wouldn't know any Chinese who would want to see her, let alone know the HQ was there. She kept her composure, however. Though no reading this girl, she looks innocent and but I have this feeling there's more to her than she lets on. Best not lie, but better not give her so much information. Giving the napkin back, Kasara scoffed. Yeah, I know the place. Actually go there from time to time with friends. It's just a little way out that way, but don't know why you'd want to go there. It's mostly some street rats like me hanging out. Not really a place for a sweet girl like you. The girl smiled, though. Well, I should see for myself. A thank you for the guidance. As she started back towards the HQ, Kasara took a glance at the girl one more time before turning and taking her own stroll. As she started her way out, her mental image kicked in. The girl had lean muscle, walked with purpose. It was clear this girl was no ordinary flower, she was stronger underneath. Could it be they are moving so soon? Why would they come to my warehouse, when Shinka is only just setting up there? After a few moments, her eyes popped open. Naruto. He comes by quite often. Any smart man would target a less likely ambush spot than the dojo. Yami's been watching. But how? So soon? I have to tell him. With that, the Taekwondo fighter used her amazing legwork to her advantage to sprint towards the dojo. Though not as fast as the masters or Naruto and Mu themselves, she made it there in record time from the warehouse compared to any other time. Yelling, she jumped at the gate and gave it the hardest kick she could manage, which almost tore her leg from the force needed to open it just halfway. Fuck. Not gonna stop me now. She limped into the dojo to find Naruto. Hey, anyone here? As she opened the outside door to Akisumi's room, she found he wasn't there, but she jumped in fear when a hand poked her shoulder, and she turned to see the upside-down Shiger, hanging from the support beam of the roof with her toes. What the hell? Shiger waved a little. Hello, why make such a fuss? You need a help. Spotting the leg, and being so close to Akisume like a daughter to an adopted father, she noticed the leg was worse for wear. Akisa. Me, is not Haria, he will return us soon. Grunting as she stood back up, Kasara growled a bit too dull the pain in her leg. Well, thanks for the advice, but it's Naruto I'm looking for. He's in danger. I have information about Yami. Damn it, they know where to find him outside the dojo. Shiger's eyes narrowed. Hearing Naruto was in danger, she flipped from the ceiling and walked up to the redhead. Waria. Kasara gave the woman a small glare in return. You first, Bimbo, where's Naruto? And she got her answer, making her groan, even more, knowing that she wouldn't be able to warn him in time now that she hurt her leg just trying to open the gate. XXX Chinatown XXX. Naruto-kun. Said blonde was then jumped by Renka from the second story of the restaurant they were at, though he managed to dodge her as she landed in his chair. He smiled though, which made her blush in embarrassment. Hey, not fair. Chuckling, Naruto grabbed another chair. No, but you tried to ambush me. Besides, you didn't tell me you returned. It was true, it had only been a few weeks. It was actually a surprise. Renka sighed as she sat in her chair. Mama told me to come back as she wants me to help fight against Yami. Since they rose up, it scared her a bit. Not only with her students, but with Papa as well. And well, I worried about you, Naruto. Yami's goal is fighting against Ryazanpaku and their associates, meaning they will be attacking you, the masters, my papa, and even my mama's school. I think she also worries if she is targeted, I'm targeted. So as soon as she finished training me night and day, I was sent back. Only just arrived yesterday actually, so perfect timing. Though her father was not as impressed. She has a right to worry about her standing in China, but Yami is not going to be targeting just the Phoenix Shula. Their main target is Ryazanpaku, and who knows when they will strike us. In fact, the older Ma, the owner of the restaurant, hummed in serious thought. Their goal, if I am not mistaken, is to pit their disciples against Naruto and Mu, I would imagine. Am I right, Kensai? Nodding, Kensai sighed. We suspect as much. They are preparing for a fight, but who their first match will be is a mystery. Seemed, however, Hakuba had his answer. Yomi went from hiding to active in such a short time, it's a wonder they have even been forgotten till now. I've had several attempts on my life the past few days. And it has to do with an extremely dangerous individual named Tenman Lee. He is a part of Yomi. Knowing his greatest disciple by rumor, Kensai hummed loudly. His own daughter. This is unfortunate. A master of Zui Quan. Naruto turned to this conversation and spoke up as he stood. Sparka, an individual named Spark, has been taking out many different martial artist groups for a while now. She uses Zui Quan. If he's here with his daughter, then they might be after Shinka as well. Renka looked to the blonde in question. You're a master of many forms of Chinese Kung Fu and Kenpo, you'll definitely beat her. Smiling, she stood up. And if she's attacking you, then you can face her as an equal. Naruto sighed, however, as he turned to Renka. If she's as tough as Ryuto, the first fist Odin, then I might have a challenge ahead of me. Taking on Tanimoto may not have been my hardest challenge, but ramp up his skill to Ryuto's level and I might be facing a dangerous individual. As he said the name of Hermit, Renka and Hakuba looked to each other before Hakuba spoke up to that. Speaking of a man named Tanimoto, that child has been coming over asking about Sugetsu for the past 8 days. I always refused to tell him, but as word spread of Tenman Lee, he's been trying to find out if his master is anywhere in the equation. It would seem that the war has started, and every soldier in this battle is looking for ways to take advantage of the time before the fighting starts. The four talked about what they would do, but Naruto already knew. He would train, he would spar with Renka and Mew, and he would get better, hoping to survive the coming fights. But he also knew one more thing, Renka looking at him with a knowing look. Smiling a bit, he drank his tea. Guess it's only fair I wonder what Mew will say. She did kiss me after all, it was nice. XXX later that day XXX. As Naruto and Mew were facing off against the elder in the courtyard, who was fighting them with two different styles at the same time, Renka watched with Kensai. Looking to his daughter, the master Kenpo user spoke softly. So, when will you be asking him? Sighing a small bit, Renka's pigtails sunk to either side of her head. I'm hoping this weekend, but who knows if we get attacked. Yami and Yomi both will be coming for him, I don't want our date to be ruined again. Kensai's eye glistened a bit. You let me worry about Yami and Yomi. Besides, the sooner the date, the less likely the chance it gets ruined. They still have to organize their efforts. Seeing the fatherly protective look in his eye she has only seen rarely, Renka smiled a bit more at him. Thanks, Papa, I'll ask soon. Just as the three training in the courtyard were starting to heat up, a strong voice cut through. Hey, Naruto, Mew. Everyone stopped to look at Kasara, who was with Shiger. We got a problem here. I had to get my leg fixed. Where the hell have you been? That took everyone by surprise. Kasara huffed as she walked to the three blondes. I come all the way out here to give you a warning and you're gone nearly all day. How long have you guys been back for? As the blonde young woman looked to her father, she spoke up. I was out getting groceries, my grandfather was with me. Putting his hand up, Naruto was confused. I was in Chinatown with Kensai. By the way, Renka's here as well. As he pointed to her, Kasara looked behind her. But shaking that off, the redhead yelled. That doesn't matter. What does is the fact Yomi knows where our new base is. They know where to find you outside the dojo. That got their attention. Kensai took a look to Shiger, who nodded when the masters looked to her. That was all they needed to know, but of course, Renka was confused. What? Why didn't you say anything sooner? Scoffing at the Chinese girl, Kasara flailed her arms. Because I only just found out this morning, and I ran here to tell you guys as fast as I could, only to find Shiger and Apache alone, and I almost broke my damn leg on the damn gate getting it open. And this arguing isn't getting us anywhere because guess what? Bringing up her phone, it was Nijima on speaker. Where is Siegfried? Shit. Get everyone back. Kasara, you have Naruto yet. Get his butt over here, Spark has arrived. It didn't take much to get that through to them. Putting her phone away, Kasara gave them all a look. Come on, Yomi's attacking our friends. Let's move. Agreeing to such, the two blondes and Renka all bowed to Kensai and the elder before heading out with her as fast as they could, whilst not speeding past Kasara who was running as fast as she could. XXX at Shinka HQ XXX. To say they were having a bad time of it against the athletically suited biker chick named Spark was an understatement, as many of the smaller guys of the alliance were no match for her, and Yukita was once again being thrown to the ground by her sudden attacks. Takeda cursed as he saw his friend getting his butt kicked. The boxer was having enough of Yukita getting beaten, but the big guy refused to go down and he was trying to act tough. Come on, big guy, let me tag in already. She's going to kill you. Chuckling, the swollen-eyed bruised-up thrower put his hands up ready. If Naruto can take a beating, we have to right. Sooner I get it through my thick skull not to go down without a fight, the better. Besides till he gets here, she's in a hissy fit. Might as well fight for it. Their entire group of heavy fighters was low already. Freya was out of town, Siegfried wasn't here because of a concert, and Kasara vanished this morning. We're screwed. All we got now is me and Yukita. Hellthor said he'd be here today to help demo but he's still not arrived. The girl spoke with an icy purpose. Just tell me where Naruto Uzumaki is, and you'll live to see tomorrow. He is my only target. Spitting, the thrower rushed in. Yeah, like hell, we'll just stand here whilst you go kill our friend. Attempting to grab the girl, all Yukita managed to do was give her more punching bag to hit, as her fists collided into his chest so fast he could barely blink before slamming into the ground holding his chest. Takeda finally had enough and ran for his friend. Yukita, shit, what's wrong with you man? Come on, just stay down. I can't handle watching you get thrown to the ground like this. Fighting to get back up, Yukita groaned and gasped for breath. Naruto takes worse every day. If I'm going to be training under Akisame, I might as well fight to the end just like him. Takeda shook his head, however. Not at the cost of your life. Yukita, just stay down. There's nothing more you can do. Seeing as his body was unable to stand, Yukita was breathing heavy, trying to gather his wits. Looking to Takeda, the thrower spoke softly. Naruto's been this good from day one we met. He could have killed us too. But he didn't. Maybe this girl will, but we're not just martial artists who met the guy and stayed nearby. We're his pals, we help him. And as martial artists, we have the ability to grow even stronger. Where have we been? Takeda. Sitting down feeling good for ourselves as Naruto did most of the damn work taking out Ragnarok. Now someone even worse is coming, and we're becoming a target as well. We either get stronger to protect ourselves, as well as Naruto, or we just watch from the sidelines. I plan on fighting my way to meet Naruto's level. What about you? Hearing this from his friend, Takeda looked shocked. Yukita was right, they have been sitting around like it was a good life ever since they met Naruto. His arm was fixed, he was a new boxer, but he still wasn't training enough. He still wasn't anywhere near fist level. And yet, here he was, talking Yukita into backing down and letting him take care of it when he still wanted to sit down and enjoy himself rather than stand and fight for what he believed in. What he said he wanted to do back when they first heard about Yami and Yomi being so tough. The girl laughed as she waited. How sweet. But hobbyists like you can never climb the ranks. None of you know how true martial artists live. You only fight for fun. This is my life, this is our work. We live and thrive with martial arts. It's a passion, it's a tradition, it's a profession. It's not some hobby for fun, it's not just a practice to be fit. It's something you work hard for. None of you will ever know the sweat, the blood, the tears we shed to be who we are today. Stand down, or I'll kill you. As his eyes darkened, Takeda put a hand to Yukita's. You rest, Paula, I got this. Standing up, he turned to the girl who was giving him an icy glare. She could feel her ki, and she was ready to kill him. But he faced that same ki, stronger even, at the dojo. He would not be intimidated as his heart pounded in his chest with rage. Slipping into a stance, he glared and poured every intent to break the back of this girl he could muster into his gaze. We are no hobbyists, so we just haven't had the right motivation or the right teacher. We've just needed that extra push to get better. Get ready, Sparky. Because until Naruto gets here, I plan to carve a piece of your ass to plant on the wall for hurting my friends. Ha! Throwing his wicked left, Takeda had taken initiative against Spark, who dazzled around the punch to her face and grabbed onto him. Only to duck as his right uppercut shorted her attempts to throw him. Twisting his arm, the biker girl pulled it to the side and started sending a flurry of kicks into his gut and chest before slamming her heel into his chin, causing him to be thrown back onto his ass. You try my patience, bring me Uzumaki. Rubbing his chest a bit, Takeda's eyes glared with fury at her. He ain't here, and even if he was, I wouldn't be standing by idle as you tried to kill my friends. Roaring, he got to his feet and sped after her. To the untrained eye, he was just angry, but to Spark, she could sense his aura, a large intent to cause her harm. Not taking him lightly, she stepped out of the way of his jab, ducking the second, and then flipping back away from the left haymaker. Jumping forward, the biker girl thrust her arms out, only to have Takeda's arms block her, taking the brunt of her attack. Quickly, the boxer pushed his block outwards, opening Spark to a counterattack that gave him the chance to strike, and with all his speed and strength, he fired his lethal left, so fast even his friends had trouble seeing it. But to Spark, she saw every second of that punch coming at her and twisted her body away in reaction. Sadly, Takeda's anger was giving him strength, and his fierce strike grazed into her shoulder, causing her a burning pain, but no bruise as she twisted around him and slammed her elbow into his back, then punched his side in before raising her leg up and flipping forward, her heel jamming into his chest and sending him flying into the courtyard wall. As Takeda came free from the wall, he landed on all fours. Quickly coming to his side was Nijima. Takeda, you all right there? You had her for sure, how did she dodge that left of yours? No clue, but I'm a nota done. Standing again, Takeda took his stance and grit his teeth as he bared the pain. Seeing Spark coming at him quickly, Takeda ran for her as well, kneeling down as she tried a spin maneuver on the ground. What surprised her, however, was him throwing 3 jabs at her leg, causing her to quickly redirect her kick. Rolling around, she planted herself and twisted, throwing her other leg directly at him on his left, but this was where Takeda found himself. Seeing her blind side, he threw his lethal left right in the inside of her thigh, causing her to roll and spin past him. Turning and standing back up, the boxer ignored his shaking knee as he took a few steps forward. That all you got? Come on. I don't box for the hell of it, I'm a pro. I'm looking for the championship, I'm looking to show my passions, what of you? We're no amateurs. Just wait, we'll show you just how strong we can be. The punch really hit the mark. Kneeling down and rubbing the bruise she was given, Spark looked at the puncher in front of her. Without hesitation, she stood and slammed the hurt leg down on the ground, stomping the pain out and racing after him, suddenly shifting her entire moveset as she got close to Takeda. Seeing this, he stepped in on the offensive, throwing a haymaker, 2 jabs, even an uppercut into a wild downward knuckle buster, every thrown punch nearly connecting but the blonde woman in front of him dancing around him. He finally found out what she was trying to do. Turning with her, he threw hooks and jabs as fast as he could, spiraling on the spot to get back on target as she danced around him, her fingers becoming pincers and her body coiling like a rope around him. Just as she got to his right, Takeda twisted hard, breaking his right arm she finally caught a hold of, only to twist and throw his lethal left into her chest, causing her to flip and skid on the ground, but not before her leg caught his and forced him to trip, slamming onto his ass. Spark, although coughing up some blood from the savage strike to her chest, ignored her pain as she spun on the ground, and quickly grabbed onto his left, trapping him and lifting him, her fingers pinching his throat. It was checkmate, as the rest of Shinka stood in shock. Having trouble breathing, Takeda kept still, knowing this was the end for him if he tried anything reckless. Damn Ida, she's just too fast, too tough. It's like her body is made of stone, my hands numb from that strike to her chest. I'm sorry Yukita, I tried to. Now listen up. Give me Naruto Uzumaki, or the boxer dies. Spark tightened her grip on Takeda's throat, causing his eyes to widen and his body to shake from the lethal pressure. It didn't take long before suddenly her elbow was grabbed from behind and pinched, forcing her hand to spring open and her surprise forcing her away. Takeda fell to his knees in relief but looked up to see Naruto. The blonde knelt beside him. You all right there Takeda? Coughing, all Takeda could do was nod until it died down and he rubbed his throat. Yeah, humiliated, but all live. Thanks, Naruto. Spark looked at them, and after a moment of looking at the blonde in an orange eye, she realized. You must be Naruto Uzumaki. Standing up at that, he stretched his arms up. That Ayama heard you were looking for me. What gives, beating up my friends? I thought I was your target. You were not here, I had to take measures to draw you out. She took her stance quickly. I say it worked. Hurting my friends will not draw me out, it only makes me mad. If this is how Yami and Yomi operate, then I've got a news flash. You're all going to find out how wrong your way of practicing the martial arts is when I take you all down. Zipping in close, Naruto instigated the fight instantly, stopping when he got close and stepping to the side when Spark attempted to throw herself at him with a spinning lunge. Turning to her opponent, Spark ducked under a vicious thrusting knuckle punch, then flipped backward as the blonde suddenly swept up his leg to kick her in the head. Landing on her feet, she leapt forward onto the ground, spinning as her bolts scrapped against the asphalt, throwing her legs out to knock Naruto down. This, however, was foolish as earlier the boxer had put a lot of pressure against her quad muscle, making her leg spasm in pain when it extended, and trying to compensate with her torso as she swept at his leg, her chest felt terribly tight which caused her to close up and roll away from Naruto, who jumped up and twisted himself back. Standing, Spark stood up and kept face. Naruto was still, he wondered why she didn't press him, why she suddenly veered off to the right and spun away. It was as if she was in pain, but she took her stance seriously. Spark was trying to maneuver around Naruto, getting her leg back in order as the pain started to subside. Her time to do this, however, was not long enough to help as Naruto was instantly on her, throwing a jab to her gut, missing as she twisted her body on her good leg and around the fist, throwing her elbow out to strike his chest. Her elbow was deflected with an uppercut, the disciple of Ryazanpaku lifting her arm up and stepping in swiftly with his elbow to strike down into her chest instead. Keeping her momentum, she dropped and arched back, catching the asphalt with her elbows as she lifted her legs up, kicking up into Naruto, this time registering her blow into his waist and causing him to step back from the recoil. Though she wished to be aggressive, her chest tightened from the flexible maneuver that brought her strike home, causing her to heave in pain before fighting it to keep herself up and fighting. This, however, was a poor choice, as Naruto jumped forward, turning the tides by changing stance, from karate to jujitsu, grabbing her arm as she tried to wrap it around his chest, and spinning to throw her back onto the ground, her body rolling. Getting up, Spark roared in anger, her leg giving out as she threw her strike but she stomped hard to the ground, her fist getting grabbed and her leg being swept up before she was twisted and tossed to the ground again. Using the momentum to roll away. You don't even realize what you're doing. You think you can just fight me without any killing intent. You know I cannot sense any. The only way this will end is if you kill me. Stomping her pained leg to the ground, she switched tactics, suddenly clawing at Naruto, throwing strikes and wrapping around his arm every time he tried to push her off. Switching styles, Naruto kicked her leg from under her, causing her to yell in pain before bringing it up and slamming a knee into his stomach. Switching again, he grabbed her leg and slammed his shoulder into her chest as she wrapped her arms around him, clawing into his shoulder blades causing him to grit his teeth. Once again changing his style, Naruto pulled no punches as he slammed a rising fist into her chest, causing her to fly into the air away from him, gasping in pain as her ribs started to collapse. Landing in the flower patch, Spark lay still, gasping for breath as she smelled the roses. Though her time to reflect, to dream of her past, was cut short, as her chest suddenly caught air, her ribs pushed back into place. She looked up to Naruto standing over her. You're right. I have no killing intent. I have the intent to hurt you for hurting my friends. But not kill. I probably should for your intent to kill my friends, so you and your friends and colleagues won't ever hurt them again. But that isn't how I was raised, or trained. We don't fight to kill. We fight so others may live. We fight for life, for respect, so others can reach their dreams and potential. What if you had died? Your dreams shattered. You must have dreams, Spark. Standing up, the blonde in biking gear took her helmet off. My dream will only come true if I do what they tell me to. And they tell me to kill you, Naruto Uzumaki. The only way to stop me is to kill me too. Tossing her helmet to the ground, she stepped away from the flower bed. Let us not ruin the flowers. I see so little of such beauty, especially back in China. Kensai's lessons in Chinese disputes paid off. He realized she must be from farming lands that were turned industrial, gardens and forests torn down for factories. And to save such beauty, you kill and spill the blood of others on soil that could potentially hold many more flowers and gardens given the chance. How does that help? It helps when killing you raises enough money to finally push back against such things. You've shown your hand. I now know exactly how you fight. I realize the difference now, between our views on the martial arts. I see just how Yami's claim to being the last living example of the true way to use our skills. You're soft, and it will only kill you. You who've let yourself become defensive, becoming friends with hobbyists, those who do not know how true martial artists make their living. How my family fights just to eat and live under a roof. You will not stop me from reaching my dream. Now, die by the hand of Liraichi. Disciple of the Drunken Fist. Naruto had no time to react as she suddenly launched herself into a grapple attack. Quickly, he broke her arms apart from trying to grab him, but she flipped backward, causing him to recoil from her sudden movement. This gave her time to launch herself at his feet. Seeing this, Naruto landed on his knees and grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to the ground. As she lifted up, he pulled back and slammed his feet into her stomach, launching her into the air and into the far wall. She did not land with an impact, however, as she kicked off the wall and slid along the ground, kicking off and launching herself again, this time striking wildly in a fury of attacks, kicking up, sweeping the other leg and launching herself up at Naruto, who deflected the high kick and knelt down to keep the low sweeping kick from tripping him up. Finally, she had the advantage as she kicked forward, launching a fury of punches into Naruto, screaming as she landed quite a few. Blocking or deflecting as much as he could, Naruto could not stand up to the flurry of punches as several landed into his gut, his hip, and the final one slipping past his guard to strike heavy into his jaw, throwing him onto his ass. Getting up, Naruto found her once again around his legs as she lifted him into the air, shocking many watching her strength before she twisted and slammed Naruto to the ground, rolling around on the ground before continuing her endless assault. Thinking quick, the disciple of Ryazanpaku twisted on the ground and jumped up into the air, kicking himself up from the ground. Though Lee Reichi was intent on taking advantage, her sudden strike upwards, launching herself up to thrust her fist into the neck of her opponent, was grabbed and suddenly her arm was folded against by powerful legs. Naruto rolled as he dropped to the ground, throwing Spark to the ground before twisting her and throwing her to the ground, pinning her. Caught, Lee Reichi did what she could to escape, however finding no purchase. Thinking fast, she just tore her shoulder from its socket, giving her enough purchase to finally grab onto Naruto and throw him onto the ground, lifting her to the air enough to spin and flip off him as he let her go. As she continued her assault, she suddenly felt him grab her loose arm and she slammed her elbow into his back but felt her arm suddenly fixed before she was kicked to the ground, swept her legs up as he clung to her other arm and pinning her leg between his. Striking her head back into his nose, she freed herself with enough room to break her leg and twist hard, kicking Naruto in the face and then grabbing his throat. He suddenly broke her elbow, causing her to scream in pain before she felt it fixed and painless once more. He lifted her by the leg, fixing it as he tossed her into the flower bed again. Heaving, Naruto looked at the woman before him, so eager to kill him she would cause herself pain, even threaten herself with death to fight him to the end. He stood still as she threw herself at him, clasping her hands around his neck. He stood completely still, like a rock as he toughened his neck, causing her attempts to choke him futile. Looking up at him, Lee was shocked as he looked at her softly. Why are you looking at me with sympathy? You should hate me, wish to kill me, you should fight me to the death. Feeling her grip loosen, he let his guard down enough to speak. Mother Earth is alive. She does not kill those she houses. She does not kill me, or you. She does not kill. She provides us all with life, with the fruits of her blessing, to live as we see fit. Should you kill, murder on her soil, because others would. Yami and Yomi may deal in death, but I, like my friends and masters, follow the path of life, the path that lets us take care of the earth, give back what was lost. Trees and flowers blooming, even at Ryazanpaku, especially with all the care the masters take to make sure they are healthy. You would hurt those who give back to the very earth you love, for those who would use your skills to spill blood on her soil. Your passions and dreams shouldn't be killed by the very hands trying to bring them to life. That is the difference between those two things. Life and death. You'd cause death to everything, whilst I seek to continue to protect life. I see your heart, Lee Reichi. I see you've fought hard. It's time to stop killing. It's time to look towards life, and protecting it like you truly wish. It took a few moments, but Reichi sighed and let go of him. I've been beaten. You've let me go after you've had me beaten so many times. Rubbing her sore joints, she smiled weakly. You've even helped fix the damage you did from breaking my limbs. You win. Useless. Suddenly a large power washed over the field, forcing Naruto to back away as suddenly someone hit the ground at high speed, causing the dirt and flowers to fly everywhere. Turning to the source, they all saw a man with a big poof of combed back hair in a Chinese outfit stand in a crater he made. You failed. Reichi, you are a disgrace to the family name. Everyone witnessed as Reichi turned to the man, only to be slapped to the side, and thrown unconscious on the ground. Naruto glared at the man as he stood up. And who are you? Turning to the blonde disciple of Ryazanpaku, the man glared with obvious killing intent. Lee Tenman. Reichi's father of this cleverness of having the disciples fight each other failed. Forget it, I'll just take you with me to Kensai Dono myself. Nijima was beside Yukita as the Shinka was taking care of him. Using his insight, he viewed the man before him before suddenly freaking out. Everyone in the base. Hurry. This man is on a whole different level. Go. Standing, Takeda huffed as he started walking up beside Naruto. However, Kasara came and grabbed his shoulder. Sorry puncher, but in the shape you're in, you'll only get in his way. Scoffing as he saw Naruto stand up to Tenman, Takeda shook just from the wave of ki emanating from the man. We shouldn't just run away from a fight, we shouldn't just let Naruto handle it alone. Smirking with a sad smile, knowing in her heart he was right, and knowing also how she was still below the needed skills to help the one she's looked for since childhood, she pulled Takeda back with her. He's not. Even if we're on our deathbeds, I'll at least stand by him. But right now, both of us have some issues that will only get him killed. Besides, he's got two fresh fighters of his caliber with him. She was right, as Miu and Renka ran in and stood by Naruto as they each stood in their personal stances. Something Tenman said got Naruto's attention, however. What do you mean the cleverness of disciples fighting each other? Yomi and Yami are working together. Huffing, the silver-haired man started popping his neck side to side. Fool. Yomi is Yami's training engine. It's where Yami trains their own disciples in their own arts. All 9 fists have 1 disciple each. If they train someone else, the 2 disciples fight to the death. It is their way of progressing their individual arts stronger than ever. But the rule is useless if someone so good-hearted and weak can still beat our own disciples. They wanted your head, and they will have it. Without hesitation, he was suddenly upon the 3 fighters, causing them to take action with Miu ducking down and rolling in with a striking rising kick, Renka herself shifting in with a fury of swiping claw attacks, and Naruto himself throwing out a double fist technique as he cemented his stance. Their attacks fell short, as Tenman wasn't even there, his body vanishing briefly before they were suddenly knocked forward from yet another explosive attack causing them to roll away. Takeda looked on at them shocked. Who the hell is this guy? He's like a missile. Recovering first, Renka roared as she took this chance to jump and roll, gaining momentum for a savage dropkick. Take this. However, she was met with Naruto catching her and pushing her away just in time for Tenman to suddenly kick the blonde into the neighboring wall, coughing up blood. Renka hit the ground and looked in horror as Naruto's eyes were going blank. Naruto. His chest was almost caved from that strike, but Naruto used every technique in breathing he learned over the years to keep himself awake. He watched as Tenman slowly walked up to him. Foolish, saving your friend instead of yourself. That is why the Katsujinkan is such weakness. With new rage building within her, Renka stormed the man coming for her beloved. You will not take him anywhere. Ah. Utilizing all her training with her mother, Renka stormed the man and started predicting his moves, quickly ducking under his swift kick, though only just as one of her ties was kicked off and her hair fell over her shoulder. Spinning and rising up, she kicked up and swung her heel for the master's neck. Catching her foot, Tenman turned to her and suddenly pulled her up and flipped upside down, kicking her hard in the back and throwing her to the group of bystanders. Though Naruto was yet done with friends, as suddenly a man in a feather cap stepped between them. Sorry, I am Ladia, I had an encore to perform. Naruto fought himself out of the wall, standing behind Siegfried. Get out of here, Siegfried, he's much stronger than you realize. Suddenly grabbed up and being carried, the blonde liked to see Thor getting him out of there. Sorry, Blondie, but he's after you. And as your friends, we can't exactly let him take you. Tenman went to give chance, but Siegfried was on him once again. You will not so simply chase Naruto. Allegro. Spinning into the man, Siegfried was slammed head-on by Tenman's very head, but as the breath was taken away, he collapsed his shoulder and knee together using the momentum gained from such force, both joints connecting against Tenman. Such effort was rewarded with nothing, as Tenman grabbed his knee and flipped him in the air, then grabbed him and throwing him into the ground before slamming a heel into Siegfried's stomach. Seeing Siegfried knocked out, the master continued chasing the large sumo, who not only held Naruto but also Renka now as they entered the building. Nijima was pulling switches as soon as the doors closed, and outside the window, Takeda saw traps and cannons galore firing at the man, but to no avail, as he dodged every net and kicked away every ball of iron. This guy's insane. He's just as strong as the masters at Ryazanpaku. Suddenly Tenman blasted through the wall, scaring everyone, even Nijima who was boarding up the door. Smirking at the young alien-looking man, he chuckled. A Tacticiana, you have a good sense for battle, young Oniya, too bad you and the rest of this group will perish. As sudden, as it was for Tenman to burst in, it was also sudden how he was thrown to the ground before their very eyes. Naruto looked up, smirking. Sifua, standing in the hall, hands in his sleeves, stood none other than Kensai Ma. Standing over Tenman, the master of all forms of Kenpo and Kung Fu smirked. Tenmon, a long time. I thought you knew better than to get in the way of a disciple's fight. You should know the rules by now, that no master is to lay a finger on another master's disciple unless provoked by the said disciple. Renka was standing on her own but badly wounded. Papa, make him suffer. Seeing his daughter, Kensai's rage built. Seeing his daughter beaten so badly, as a father he could not accept that. You've pissed me off, Tenman. Hurting my daughter so badly. Jumping up and spinning against the ground like his daughter, Tenman roared to life as he swept multiple kicks at Kensai. And yet you will die by my hand this day. Kensai. The two masters fought vigorously through the halls, everyone looking on in awe and shock as the two traded blows. Tenman's flurry of palm strikes being deflected, Kensai's rapid kicks being dodged, each moving with purpose as one flipped and the other rolled around. Clear as day how each was different but still so strong. Even after finally connecting several punches, each coughing up blood for a split second before reacting with another deadly blow, the fight was faster than many could truly see. But just as the fight started, it ended as they stood still. Tenman closed his eyes. I see. You've got no intent to kill me, yet you are furious. Furious as a father, yes. But understandable given the circumstances. Besides, you've been easily able to kill everyone here by the time I arrived. Yet you didn't. You too, as a father, would not let my daughter perish by your hands. Just as your daughter, though also your disciple, is taken great care to hold your fists back from harming her with such ferocity. In the wall, climbing in, was the hurt Reichi. Father. Smiling a little, Tenman had to admit, he was caught. In truth, he was not a horrible person, and though he was an assassin for hire, he usually only ever took jobs for bringing others in alive. Even as he worked with Yami, and using tactics of the Satsujinkan, he was Katsujinkan by heart. Especially when it came to children and women. Turning and picking his daughter up, he stopped and spoke simply. You and Naruto Uzumaki, you would fight a way of life that many would deem correct, by using the very opposite way of life to beat them. They would murder, you would know. I've seen many at your stage of training turn from the Katsujinkan. Will you truly be able to fight for life till the end? Naruto had no answer. As he watched them walk away, he had to wonder. The power was shown by such fierce fighters. They were strong masters, and Tenman, whilst still holding back, was utterly stronger than any other master he has fought to this day. He wondered what gave Yami enough strength to be so much stronger if not the Satsujinkan. He had to meditate, as he felt his doubts start to form. Within him, as a red hue around his bruises started to heal rapidly, another thought started to form. What if he just ended it? What if I just stop them outright? If I just end them, they won't come back to hurt my friends or those I care about. Dangerous thinking, but such thoughts were his, and yet XXX the next day XXX. The sun rose on another day, and Takeda was on the very roof he met Naruto. Takeda came up to him as free period started. Yo Takeda, you alright? You've been missing a few classes. The events of yesterday flush in his mind, the boxer had every intention to become strong enough to help his friends. Looking over to Yukita, patched up and good as new thanks to Akisame, he smiled. Sorry, lost track of time. Sitting next to his friend, the judo student turned jujitsu disciple hummed. Yesterday hoo-ha. And months ago, remember that day, we finally faced Naruto on this very roof. Takeda's memory second to none as he envisioned the ring he drew. Not by much, he threw me to the ground and knocked me out with heavy as hell weights. He chuckled a bit at that. He played a bit dirty there. Yeah well, we didn't give him much time to prepare. Remembering he stood back and gave the blonde the time to remember and take them off. I still cannot believe he let me hit him. Even if he didn't know my arm was busted, he should have been able to tell my strikes. He says because by then, even someone such as me, should have gone rogue without honor and start kicking, but I only had a single limb. Even if I was going pro, one hand behind my back was trouble for me. Yet, here I am, unable to really do anything. Sure, I can gain at least a single hit on someone stronger than me, but I'm knocked out in round 1. He's getting farther away. Sitting up, Takeda looked at his best friend. And so will you. Get too far from me. That got the big lug surprised. What are you talking about? I'm still here with you. I got knocked out without even a single strike, yet you could land 2 blows on Spark. And now you're taking lessons from Akisame. You're training with the same master Naruto has for years. You'll grow in strength in 1 month more than I can ever hope to. Looking at his left fist, the boxer gripped it tightly. I think it's time I looked for a master. I don't want to give up boxing, but it might be the only way to get better. And Muay Thai is still boxing. Putting a hand on Takeda's shoulder, Yukita decided to reassure his friend. If there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that there are masters everywhere, for everything. Karate, Muay Thai, even several forms of Kung Fu. There's got to be someone on the same level as Ryuzanpaku who is a master at boxing. And if they follow that stupid way of killing people, he had that fear, that any master he met outside Ryuzanpaku may very well be a killer. I can't do that. It was a very real possibility. But Yukita stood up and sighed. I can't stop you from going to Apachai. I hear he's one of the hardest masters there to train with. But, do me one favor. Before you start thinking it's your only option, ask the masters yourselves if they know anyone. Maybe they can lead you to someone you'll agree with. Now that was an idea. Takeda looked up from his fist and smiled. Standing up, he pats his friend's back. Thanks for the advice, big guy. Now, did I miss lunch? None of the fighters of the group knew how Nijima did it, but the safe house was back in top form, with some people still clearing out some of the rubble here and there. But what took Takeda by surprise was the newest training room inside it. Apparently, Nijima had it cleared and given some very hardy gear for practice, and the one who was using it was none other than the landlord herself, Valkyrie. Kasara was inside the room and slamming her legs into every obstacle in the room as it swung around and popped up from the ground. To the blind eye, it was normal practice, but to Takeda, who knew better, he could see the red bruises on the woman's legs, the red and raw skin as it slammed into another target, weights attached at the ankles. Kasara was training extremely hard. He had to admit, she was working harder than he was at the moment. Nijima stepped up beside him. She's been at this for 7 hours. We've started thinking up ways to strengthen all our gear after she broke a quarter of the things she's practiced with today. Though I worry she's overdoing it, we don't have the fighters to spare one of us being downed. Everything turned off around Kasara, until Takeda saw clear as day something behind her start falling, a huge ball coming down on top of her. Kasara. He tried to warn her, but he watched in awe as she roared with all her willpower and kicked back at the ball. As her foot connected, Takeda and Nijima were worried she'd hurt herself terribly. But the very opposite happened as the ball burst and broke in midair, Kasara letting her leg down and she stood tall. Turning to the two as she walked and grabbed a towel, the red-headed lean bad girl of the group smirked. Need to give me something harder there, Nijima. Add 10% to the course. I'll take 24 hours off. Takeda, what brings you here? Recovering from his surprise, the boxer smiled. Was going to see how you were doing. It seems you are doing all right. Surprising to see you getting this strong without a master. Scoffing, the woman tossed the wet towel aside. I'm not risking it. Siegfried's went to find his, Yukita's at Ryuzanpaku, and you're out trying to find a master yourself. We need someone here at all times in case it all goes to shit again. I figure I'll work in a similar way to Naruto, push myself past my limits and then go beyond. He had master healers though, so I have to take breaks when I know my body isn't up to the task. What about Thor? Freya even. He didn't realize yet that, though they were allies with Shinkawa. Nijima answered. Technically they are not part of the group. Freya expressed concerns it was another gang, and Thor only tolerated us because of Siegfried. Our only fighter for the moment is Kasara, and I worry she's burning out. Until she says otherwise, however, we will continue to improve. Humming in thought, the boxer had to admit, they had a point. He was even a part of Ragnarok when they put up an attack at a very unprepared moment. Keeping prepared was the best thing to do, and right now he could understand everyone's motivations after Spark kicked them up and down the courtyard. So, still looking for your master boxer? Kasara sat down after getting a bottle of water. Have you tried looking into dojos? With a long sigh, Takeda shook his head. I haven't been looking. Don't get me wrong, I want to find one. But finding one isn't the problem, it's finding one with the same method of fighting as those from Ryuzanpaku, even Naruto and Mew. I don't want to bother them either, but I am afraid I may have to. One of them has to know a good master. Rolling her eyes, the redhead just told him. Just go ask. Look, regardless of their training, they will still have time to talk. You need to stop thinking and start training. It's been, what, a week? You've been sitting down trying to figure out the right time to go ask. No time like the present. The more you worry, the less strength you train for, the less you'll be able to fight these super strong freaks from Yami. So the real question, Puncher, is this. You going to start training, or just sit back and let the dedicated ones do the fighting? Whilst his resolve to ask has been in flux, his resolve to fight has never been higher. I've not been slacking off, but it seems you've jumped through hoops yourself to get stronger. Alright, I'll go ask. Smirking, Kasara sighed and stood back up. I'm coming with. Make sure you don't get cold feet. Besides, it's been a while since I saw anyone else. It would be nice to talk to Naruto a bit. I'll stick here, need to finish the command center in the basement. You two have fun, the alien co-leader of the Shinka group said as he left to make arrangements for tougher gear. As the two former Ragnarok fighters were walking around, they were suddenly surprised by a screaming figure speeding at them. In seconds, they realized it was Yukita, and behind him with a whip was Akisame on a tire being dragged by him. Both of them got out of the way as Yukita was screaming in fear. Ah! Though Takeda was used to the rather intense training Ryazanpaku had, he never witnessed such training being used upon someone who had no idea how I really felt. Shouldn't we be helping? That seems a bit too much to start Yukita off with. Kasara shrugged and started walking again. That's tame compared to what the masters do themselves without complaining. They actually go beyond their limits to keep their skills sharp, and do it without hesitation. Seeing Takeda listening, Kasara continued. That's the difference between what we used to be, and what we have to become to fight this new threat. We cannot stray from hard training, we cannot hesitate when our new opponents are also training day in and day out. It wasn't until I first saw Naruto for the first time, saving me and my cat, that I found my drive to train until I was the very best. I found a goal, but then I made it and felt complacent. After taking Odin down, and Spark, I found my own spark. The two finally made it to the gates. Takeda was still listening intently, though he knew the trials the masters went through he seemed to have looked too shallow, whereas Kasara took a hard look below the surface. Putting her foot on the gate, Takeda witnessed her grunt loudly and shove the single door almost completely open. I don't train to become the best, I don't train to be a master. I train and get stronger for those I care about, for those I hold dear, and if it means nearly breaking my body to do it, I will get stronger, sharpen all my skills. And anyone who tries to challenge me to get to any of you, I won't let them beat me without a fight. If it means becoming a master, becoming the best, then so be it. If you feel the same way. She gave a grin. Then you'll find the right master to help you. It was surprising how strong Kasara had gotten in a single week. Takeda knew that she was still the strict, but good-hearted woman he knew. She was just stronger and driven to grow even more so. He felt a similar spark, but his fear kept him from driving forward. Let's go find out. Not anymore. And just as they entered the courtyard, they witnessed as a large sandbag burst open like an explosive. As the cloud of sand and dust cleared, they looked to see Naruto standing at the side of the broken piece of equipment. What surprised them more was that it wasn't Naruto who did it, but one of their old friends and allies Tsuji. He had hit the thing so hard it exploded from the inside, and Naruto was unimpressed. You can stop the tough guy act, I got your number now. That training in the mountains really got my skills up. Maybe so, but I've been keeping sharp myself. So why don't you see about facing me for real? Naruto's ki shot up, and everyone around him that was normal went rigid from the force. This was a whole different Naruto they were seeing, as he glared death at Tsuji. The long-haired wild man was stunned into paralyzing fear of the ki shooting out directly at him. It was so strong that even Kensai, who was reading his naughty books, looked up in a serious stare at the blonde. Tsuji tried desperately to get into a fighting stance, but Naruto was already in front of him. Don't back down from a challenge, huh? Show me that fighting spirit, Tsuji, like you did way back when you and Ragnarok stormed my path. Naruto, hey, take it easy. He turned to see Kasara shaking but walking up to him. Come on, don't be like that. This isn't like you, what's gotten into you? He turned his ki off, making Takeda and Tsuji both take a knee or two. I'm sick of everyone coming up and threatening me and those I care about. I'm starting to think it's best to end the fight quickly. Takeda could feel the stares, looking to see Sakari, Kensai, even the elder back in the yard get serious as if they know what this meant. He could sense their dread over this admission. Though Kasara stood fast and came up to Naruto with her guard up but her arms bare. Come on, it's not like we're weaklings. Mew, Renka, me, Takeda and Yukita, everyone you know is a strong fighter. And only getting stronger. You don't need to worry if we can take care of ourselves, only that we can stick together against these challenges. As you've always shown, as you will continue to show. It took a moment but he looked down, almost faltering in his step. She could see the conflict in him. She could see now the fear Takeda had, about the path they chose. About how fragile a belief it can be to those in martial arts. The whisker-wearing man of her heart stepped away, sighing. I just don't know anymore and I have to go pay my respects. He left, unwrapping his arms. As he exited the room, Akisame came up. Ever since Spark almost killed you all, he's been having a difficult time understanding what place our way of life presents in the face of such overwhelming force for death. We were hoping to solidify the choice of Katsujinkan within him before Yami and Yomi struck, but it seems we ran out of time. Standing up, Suji frowned. Killing is just how fighting goes, sometimes you can't stop yourself. Sometimes you can't hold back or else you die yourself. The elder was behind him, which scared him for several reasons, including silently wondering how much power lay behind those passive eyes as the large man brushed his beard. True, but that is why a true martial artist gains a code to live by, one that leads to a final path, one to kill because it's a normal end to fight, or ones who keep everyone they can alive, even their opponent, to prove that life is precious in all things, even those that have dark hearts and souls. Naruto has always had trouble finding out where he lands on the moral spectrum of life and death. He's followed our ideals because that is how we taught him, but there have been many troubles since then that have given him pause. Many that he fought to save others in his nightly escapades, Ragnarok's recent incursion, and the current situation with Yomi. We are fearing the final straw to break the back of his will to follow our path. So, what can we do? He's brought us all back from a dark place, I feel it's the time we bring him back from his. Takeda stood quickly to ask. Not so easy, little guy. You cannot force him back, he has to find the will to keep going towards life and peace. We've been hoping that if the numbness he feels when training can't help, then maybe the love of others. It's looking like he's barely hanging on as is for that connection, but so far it's working. He knew the others agreed not to say much, but he had to give something to them to understand. Kasara looked towards where Naruto went and put her hands in her pockets. She thought about it hard. After a moment, she smiled. I see. Well, I'll be here to give that love and guidance for good, because he was there for me. Naruto came out in casual clothes, which kind of shocked them. He saw their curious looks. Sorry, forgot to tell you, I guess it's been a long week. It's the day Mui goes to see her parents' grave elder and I always accompany her. The elder explained to the ones who didn't know. That's right. Miu is my granddaughter and I brought her into my home to raise when my son and his wife died when Miu was still a baby. I apologize, but if you all wish to stay and wait for Naruto to return, we will be back by dark. I still must get ready myself, so you have time to talk before then. As he left, Suji looked to the blonde rival of his. This is all too strange for me. I'm out. I'll be training some more for a real fight later. God, it's spiky. He left in a hurry without an answer. The three friends talked a bit about their week, Naruto telling them of his rigorous training, making Takeda slightly pale and Kasara to just chuckle. Naruto looked to his dark-skinned friend. Takeda, what brings you around? I thought your therapy was over with, you usually don't visit much. Well, true, but I got a good reason. He took a deep breath. You see, I need to find a boxing master, one that has my style, but is part of the Katsujinkan way of martial arts. Know anyone? Naruto rolled his eyes and looked to Akisame, who had his back turned and was standing straight and seriously. Akisame-sensei, you know one, don't you? Not a one, sorry, my memory is failing me. I cannot seem to think of a single boxing master that practices the fist of life. He almost huffed as he raised his chin up. Sighing, Naruto looked to Takeda. He does, and so do Ia. Every other month they find a small place to bed and dare the other to shave their mustaches. You'll be looking for a man named Shiba, James Shiba. Though he's a bit of an oddball, and slightly rude, so be careful. Don't let him run you over with any stupid ploy. Show him you're just as stubborn and ready to be a top boxer, and he'll respect you enough to train you. It may take a week or a month, but it'll happen. James Shiba, huh? Thanks for the tip, Naruto. Smiling, Takeda put out a fist. You always come through. Keep honey safe and sound during your trip, okay? Smiling a bit, the blonde bumped fists to the puncher. Keep that left sharp, may need it against these darkness-toting renegades. The boxer left, leaving the red-haired tomboy with Naruto. She looked at him, having a rough go of it since the attack on Shinka HQ. Yeah, I justa. Naruto sighed and looked down. Kasara smiled and stepped up. You'll figure it out. I know you, I know your heart. Even if it's locking down, I've seen it. You care. The road of kindness and good nature may be difficult, but it's more rewarding. The more your heart shines, the more people are drawn to it. I may not be mushy like some people, but I do know this, I will always believe in you. She opened her arms and Naruto was a little surprised that she hugged him. Blushing a little, but hiding it well, the red-haired fighter gave his cheek a small peck before letting go and turning around. And I will always care about you, knucklehead. Keep standing up for others as you've always done. See you tomorrow, okay? As she left, Naruto was internally fighting himself. Every argument was being thrown back at him for both sides of his feelings. Like something wanted him so badly to start killing Yomi for how they almost killed her and everyone, but also the reason they are alive is that he held back. They were once my enemies. But my new enemies almost killed them. And what if keeping to the light they may become my friends as well? Spark herself is seeing the light now too. Not everyone can be turned to the light, and if they kill Kasara, Takeda, even Mew. Then they are too far gone to save any more. And if I kill them, I won't be any better. He shook his head, trying hard to banish the thoughts. Though whatever dark thoughts were fighting him, it had the last word. And if we don't take that chance, we may lose those we care for. If we don't take action, maybe even those who say they love us may abandon us. We cannot afford to be passive any longer. Ignoring that, Naruto just went and waited for Mew and the elder to get ready to visit the grave of Mew's mother. XXX hours later XXX. It was relatively somber, as always. Naruto prayed with Mew as they looked upon the grave of both Mew's mother and her grandmother. Though Naruto knew from Hayato that the father was gone too, he never saw the grave. Looking to Mew, Naruto came and hugged her close. Though she was bubbly and headstrong normally, she was focused and distant during these visits. He had always been her pillar of support, and every time she cried as she stood beside him. The three of them prayed and paid respects for a while before the elder chose to see the priest about the grave. As he went, the two young fighters left the other way. Normally they got ice cream and sat down in the park, but something about this year had Mew thinking of other things. There's a zoo nearby, want to go see some of the animals there before heading home. She wanted to have a nice date with him, seeing as how Renka was not here and they were alone, she wanted her chance to claim his heart. But deep down, she knew he was struggling with the Yomi incident. She knew how he started training harder, and striking at dummies in vital areas. Mew was hoping to lift his spirits, maybe find clarity to keep fighting for life. Naruto hummed but smiled a bit. Sure, we have time before he gets back from talking to the priest. It might be cool to relax a bit. It didn't take long to get there and start looking at the many varieties of animals they had. The two were having a good time so far, with Mew on his arm and looking at the fancy cold weather mammals and their eating habits. Naruto was starting to feel better about it all, feeling like he could see the light again. Remembering they usually got ice cream, he looked to Mew. Hey, let me go get us some of our favorite cold treats. I'll be right back, okay? Mew nodded, having wanted to see the bird exhibit as soon as the sign showed up. As her love walked to the stand, she went into the cages. Though apparently one of the birds was stuck, but no one could see them trapped by their leg in their own nest, normal people just thought it was being a loud annoyance, but her trained eyes saw the leg was red from pulling on it so hard. Unbeknownst to her, someone else also saw it, and also was compelled to help, and both of them jumped up to do so. Mew and the young man with a tattoo on his face and long blonde hair, they both helped the bird out of the nest, Mew herself having some spare cloth to help the leg. After she finished, the man, who had been staring at her the entire time, was still staring but was smiling. She kind of saw his movements. You made it up here pretty quickly with those moves. Are you a martial artist too? The silence permeated the area before he started giggling, then laughing before jumping up on his feet and looking at her arms up in the air. I found you at last. I've been searching for my flying maiden for so long. That got her attention to be freaked out by his crazy confession of stalking her possibly. Maybe just the fact I am very acrobatic in my style and he likes that kind of thing. Too bad I'll have to let him down, huh? In her thoughts, she didn't really focus on defending against anything as he grabbed her hand and held it close to him. Smiling so wide, the man just blurted out randomly. My name is Kano Sho. Let us fly the skies of darkness together. That got Mew's attention. Darkness. Yummy. Yeah, you'll be accepted instantly, I bet. Whipping her arm and twisting it, she stuck fast to knock him out. Assassin. Whoa, nice moves, but I know that technique from Saiga Furinji. As he flipped out of the way quickly, he saw her freeze in shock. Saiga Furinji. How do you know him? Sadly, her shock and frozen action were enough for him to get behind her and trap her in a lock. Well, as a part of Yami, I know all the information we've gathered on people, including him. He smirked behind her, finding a way to get her to follow him. Hey, if you want to know more about him, I can tell you everything, but you'd have to follow me to hear it all. She knew nothing, only that he was not buried with her mother. She had always wondered, grandfather would never say anything about Ida, nothing about my father, who he was, nothing. If Yami knows something, is that why he wouldn't tell me? She looked at Sho, who was smiling brighter. She looked towards where Naruto went, but where she was he wouldn't see through the trees. Mew was at a crossroads, but she couldn't resist the temptation, finally knowing about her father. Lead the waya. Minutes passed, and Naruto was looking all over. He knew she was towards the birds, but she was supposed to be waiting for him. He couldn't feel her ki anywhere, so she wasn't being harassed. But something didn't feel right. He chose to climb the highest peak of the zoo and look, and quickly managed to do just that. As the young blonde fighter looked, he was quick in finding something, and to his dismay, it was Mew. He was sure of it with her flowing hair and the dress she wore today to visit the grave, and she was riding away fast on a motorcycle with some jacket-wearing dude. Giving chase, quickly catching up but keeping distance to see what was going on, he found her not tied or chained, so she was willing. This confused him. Why isn't she resisting? Why leave suddenly with this person? Who is he? The guy was also giving off vibes he did not like. Sadly, he was giving off his own vibes, and they both saw him. Mew looked surprised, and the guy looked annoyed, and Naruto felt a pang of jealousy. Mew was willingly going for sure, cause her eyes spoke volumes of being worried but also apologetic. Sho hit the gas more, but Naruto managed to put out all the stops and run fast enough to catch the bike and get in front of it. Mew, seeing Sho was willing to run her love over, stopped the bike for them, which made them flip cause the bike skid and almost flipped itself. Flying off it, both of them landed as the bike skid along the ground. Taking off their helmets, Sho glared at Naruto. You annoying bug, trying to fly faster than Maya. Not looking to Sho, Naruto chose to look to Mew, though his eyes were indifferent, and Mew felt a pang of guilt. What's going on? Who is this guy? The ki started flowing from Sho, and Naruto is unfazed by it all. Hey, Ant, scram before I tear your head off. Mew looked to Naruto. Hesha Wella. She didn't know what to say. If she said from Yami, with how he was now, he might do something drastic. She was fighting over how bad it would be. Though she never got an answer, and someone came up to them. Kano Showa Saparna, what the hell are you doing here? Turning, they all saw Hermit, Natsu Tanimoto. Sho scoffed. Well, look who it is, Hermit. Been a long time, huh? Yeah, though I wonder what the leader of Yomi is doing here. Naruto's ki suddenly blasted. Hermit looked shocked, not ever feeling this kind of killing intent before from the fellow blonde. Sho was feeling it bearing down on him, but he wasn't totally unprepared for it. What, you wanna go against me? Mew got in the middle. No, she was facing Sho, which had Naruto's thoughts go in several directions. Did she think Sho was stronger? Or was she just protecting him as someone who cares for him and chose his side? The standstill was silent for a few moments. Hermit knew this was bad. He heard from Takeda today that Naruto's ki was something else, and was not like he's ever shown before. He had to defuse the situation before it got bloody for them all. Hey, Sho, might want to back off. Yeah, and why is that? I'll break this grounded bug if he tries anything. Even if you do, what do you think God Hand is gonna do to you finding out you're out here? That got Sho scared. He grabbed Mew's hand. Shit, let's go, Mew, I can't stay out here but we have lots to talk about. She pulled her hand away, and that got him shocked. She frowned but stood tall. Sorry, but Noah, she looked back at Naruto. I can't just leave him. Not like this, I love him too much to let him go down a dark path. Information on my father can wait. Naruto needs me, and I will not let my love's heart grow cold. Sho saw she wasn't going to be pulled towards the dark yet, so he smiled. I see. I can wait. I should know better than to be pushy with girls. He was by her side, passive as well, which had Naruto let his guard down a little bit. You'll understand one day you should be on our side, my wingsa. He gently laid a kiss on her cheek and backed off until everyone froze. The time it took for Naruto to process the information in front of him, something inside him broke out. He knew Mew, everything about her, even the reflexes pounded into her muscle memory by the elder, and the deep dark voice in his head that was aiming to push him to kill had snuffed out the voice of light, just enough that his heart broke. She has every reflex to throw anyone who gets behind her like that to the ground, even if they try to get her into a grapple. She would never allow that to happen, but she let him kiss her. She was supposed to be on a date with us, but she chose to abandon us for him, and now it's clear. She doesn't truly. A tear ran down his cheek seeing her not even try to kick his ass for it, but that last vestige of light snuffed as a ki so powerful that even the masters, elder too, were shocked to sense from such far away. It was almost visible as his body grew a shade of red, his muscles bulging. Sho, Hermit, even Mew were paralyzed, but as soon as their breath was taken away, they were given it back as Naruto's ki vanished completely, and his eyes grew dull. He turned and started running as fast as he could. Hermit dropped to his knees. Sho was shaking in his shoes, but Mew was still paralyzed, seeing his eyes go dead. What happened? He looked so oh no, he thought. Naruto. The elder appeared. Mew, what's wrong? Where's Naruto? Tears started streaming down her face as she looked to her grandfather. He just ran. We have to catch him. Hayato nodded and they started running after Naruto. Hermit huffed and looked to Sho, his eyes wide. I don't know what happened, Ada, but I think you just pissed him off. Whatever you did, I would pray he doesn't find you in that bad mood again. Sho didn't speak, but he grabbed his bike and got out of there. XXX that night, Ryazanpaku XXX. The masters were all worried, pacing, almost ready to go out and find Hayato. Akisame was pacing. This is not good of that ki, it's the same as when he was a child. When he grew angry it felt like that, so similar but far more potent. That is Naruto, but not the one we know. We should atria to find Hima soon. Their resident weapons master said, upside down and counting her shuriken. They didn't have to wait long as Hayato came Ina but only with Mew. Everyone, high alert. Naruto's vanished completely. We can't find him anywhere, and he's masking his ki. I think the final straw broke the will he had left. Mew was crying still. It's all my fault. Naruto, I'm sorry. I should have been on guard. I should have beaten that guy to a pulp. I shouldn't have let him even try to kiss Maya. Next time I see him though, for that gross kiss of his, I will break his jaw. But first, I must find you again. Naruto, I have to show you I truly love you and bring you back. Night fell quickly, with the moon rising, so did the shadows, hiding some crooks about to take on a couple walking through the park. And from a hollow tree, a blonde watched on, seeing as the criminals attacked. Inside him raged Awara. You know it's not worth it. Helping them does not further your goals. They can perish and it wouldn't affect your skills. I've always helped those in need, it's what I always did, it was something I wanted to do. And doing it didn't hone your skills, all you faced were low-level punks, not deserving of fighting you at full strength. But they need help. What good is my strength if I cannot help those in need? Your strength is good for one thing, killing those that stand in the way of what drives you forward, what desires you hold, what goals you made for yourself. The thugs were winning, knocking the man out and taking his things, and trying to kidnap the woman. In his head, the dark thoughts were winning, but his heart was yet to be fully shattered. His soul called out to him and he raced forward, and without a second to think he kicked the guy so hard in his side that he heard the thug's back snap, the spine breaking from the force of his kick. The woman knocked herself out against the ground, so all that was left to do was take out thug number 2. The thug, seeing his friend gasping for breath and unable to move, grabbed his knife and decided to attack. You'll pay for that. Though it was of no use, as the blonde fighter snapped a knuckle punch to the elbow to break the bone there, then pulled the arm out of its socket, and then sent a punch right into the man's chest, breaking 3 ribs with little effort. As the man fell, gasping for his own life like his friend, Naruto stood there unmoving, staring. The dark thoughts in his mind swirled. This is what you are meant for, taking those under you out, and showing how powerful you are. You are a fighter, you shouldn't be showing mercy to anyone. They fight you, you should be doing just this, making sure they cannot hurt you ever again. Naruto stared still, thinking of his masters. But if I end their lives, they can't change for the better. We don't kill. We can't kill, we should not kill. We can, and if we need to, we will. Because if those who will never change get stronger, we risk everything we care for. You know it to be true, you know that we cannot afford to let our friends die. And if they die because we stop seeing them as friends, I can never just throw away my morality. If you don't, they die. If you do, they live. If they fight you over it, they die, but at least you'll never have to hurt with worry ever again. Naruto growled and just held his head. He didn't know what to do, but he knew he was going to let out his ki enough to be noticed, and he didn't want to be found like this. So he just took deep breaths and forced down his feelings until he was numb. After a minute he began walking, trying hard to find another place to rest, maybe find something to eat. XXXXXXXX. The next morning, at Ryazanpaku, the masters were coming back one by one. No sign. I felt something weird last night, but he wasn't there. Though a few people were knocked around, no deaths yet. Looking to the gruff man, the Chinese master Kensai hummed solemnly. That's our only comfort so far, he's yet to actually kill anyone. He's at the final crossroads for who he is as a martial artist. Though we trained him to fight with Katsujinkan, there was always the chance he would consider killing in the name of those he cares for. We all went through similar aspects, every one of us sought to fight, and found out what life or death meant to us. Now he must find it in himself to do so as well. Hayato spoke wisely. If he starts killing and enjoys it, we may have to put a stop to his actions before Yami finds him. The masters kept in thought as Mew listened in. She looked down sadly. I screwed up everything. If I hadn't been so oblivious, he wouldn't be so angry. After finishing the morning chores, Mew went to school. As she found the friends they made, she found them all rallied around their table in their schoolroom HQ. Hey everyone, what's the commotion today? Nijima looked her way as everyone, Valkyrie and the puncher, as well as even Hermit, was joined in the meeting. That last one made her think he must have told them everything. Though the alien mastermind stood inside. We have an issue. The information has come to my attention regarding my partner in this group, Naruto. There have been reports of a blonde master of martial arts roaming and beating people to an inch of their lives. There's even been reports of injured innocent civilians, not just criminals. That got her attention, as he deployed a board of reports and picture sketches. She sat down looking and reading every single one as she listened, Takeda taking point. I don't understand it myself. The latest report is from someone saying that he saved them from criminals, but knocked her out before disappearing. Knowing the guy myself, I'm having doubts we are speaking about the same person, but the reports are pointing him out specifically. Blonde spiked up hair, and whisker marks, along with cerulean eyes. This sounds way too much like Naruto's features, even if the reports sound too little like his usual self of protecting and helping others without any harm coming to the victims. Interesting theory, except that the Naruto you know isn't the same right now. Hermit had to point out as everyone looked at him. He looked at Mew and then at them. Listen, as you may know, there are two different ideals to martial arts. Katsujinkan and Satojinkan. Naruto, and Mew under the Ryuzanpaku masters, practice Katsujinkan. Life fist. They fight with all their might but do not kill, period. Satsujinkan, killing fist, means those under Yami kill whoever they want. Thing is, with martial artists, the ideals of each seem appealing. And to Naruto, although he practiced Katsujinkan, he still has not faced the barrier all face. Whether that is the belief his heart is set to follow. I cannot say mine is set either, but he has been at this longer than I have. Right now, he is currently at the real crossroad to the entire question of why he fights. And whatever he is doing is in response to that. The blonde martial arts pupil would have to thank Hermit for not telling them everything. Valkyrie hummed. If that's true, then he might kill soon if he is feeling inclined. This is not the Naruto I know, so if he does go this route I will do my best to correct it. Nijima, any idea where he is? Short answer. No. The alien hummed and thought hard. He turned to everyone. I may not be like Naruto, but I do know this much. He is not killing Anyanya yet. He may be reckless, and those who are innocent and unable to protect themselves are getting in the crossfire, but there have been 0 deaths. Even if he is at a crossroads of killing or saving those in his way, the Naruto under the Shinka alliance is still very much alive and well. Whatever is happening must be from something else, more recent. Mew, he's been different as of late, has he not? You've been his friend longer than he has been our leader. What has changed? The long-haired blonde of the group was surprised by the question but looked down in thought. She could not answer without giving away the fact she was to blame. But after several moments, she spoke softly to them all. He has gained even more friends than he ever had before. He only had me as a friend, but since public schooling, he met a lot more who have become his closest friends, and after the attack by Yomi he has started wondering how to protect those he cares for, who are not yet able to fend off such high-level combatants, from their deadly practices. She gripped her hands together painfully. He may be wondering why bother with his training from keeping those he fights alive, to protect his friends and close ones from the dangers of the threat that Yomi possesses. Hermit looked at her closely, both knowing the truth, and acknowledging the truth she spoke. As the group focused, Valkyrie stood and slammed the table with her hand. Then we find him, and show him we are not some weaklings who need his protection. She glared at the table of people. We show him we care and we will not stop in the face of this dangerous and deadly group. We show him we are strong, and we will be with him through even the greatest of his doubts and adversities. He should not, and will not go through this time of trial alone. Kasara left quickly, leaving the group to wonder what she was up to. After the meeting, Mew came from the room and wondered, and after an hour she was faced with the stairs to the direction of, go figure, know her class ahead. As she turned, she was met with Kasara, who frowned. Oh hey. Sorry. Hello. Mew bowed. Sorry for my inconvenience. As she passed by the redhead, she was hoping to just go along her day. But she was stopped when Kasara spoke. The red-headed master of the Korean karate was soft in her voice, which carried the weight of love. He didn't betray the very ideals he kept dear when facing Ragnaroka. He can't be. You know him. You live with him. You are his potential girlfriend. You know what must be happening. Why is he doing this? Mew was shocked by this but looked softly at the ground as she tried to make sense of it. I truly cannot say for sure, Buddha. I feel. It is my fault. She felt a gaze on her and looked behind to see the questioning but sad gaze of the redhead friend to her love. Kasara was tearing up but kept all her composure. He looked forward to your dates. He would not forget the promises he gave. How could it ever be your fault? Mew looked down and tears came to her eyes but refused to fall as her composure was steady. I did not stop another from showing romantic interest, and was too stunned from my Daya, and Naruto could not handle that stranger's invasion of my privacy, the top disciple of Yomi, as he tried to steal me away from him to show me something I desired that day. After explaining, Mew was hoping, even after going into further detail for a few more minutes, that Kasara was able to understand and share her sorrow. But instead, the red-headed woman came down and grabbed her by the collar, with intense rage emanating from her. You let some strange man kiss you when you were trained to stop anyone from sneaking up from behind you and in front of Naruto, whilst on a very nice day. No wonder he snapped, but to go this far, it is more than rage. The great man who saved my life, and the life of my best friend and pet, going rogue over such a thing, he must have felt betrayed. I know him, and I know you, she growled in rage. You should be ashamed of yourself, but I know his heart would burst in sorrow seeing you in pain, so even if I hate you, just get over it and never let it happen again. When you find him, make amends, and show him your heart. If you fail, then you are unfit to be the one to hold his love. Kasara let go of the blonde woman and started down the stairs briskly. The longer we let him feel sorrow and heartbreak, the worse he will get. Just don't get in my way. Miu was both shocked but also, as she was told to be, ashamed. Kasara was right, and though the redhead was not on the same level as her in fighting capability, Miu knew Valkyrie was telling the truth. She looked at her hand. I should have stopped him. My muscles I was paralyzed. She stood there, unable to move as she thought deeply about how it all went down. She could have done Morea. I should have done Morea, but she shook herself from thought to continue the day. XXX an hour later at the HQ for Shinka XXX. Though a mastermind, even Nijima was uncertain for the fate of his beloved alliance. Watching video footage he had, some might say, acquired from linked digital recording cameras in the area, he witnessed the tapes alongside those he recorded. Behind him stood one of his best fighters, unknown to many in the alliance. It's the same rhythm and style, isn't it? The glass-wearing individual nodded. The moves are all there. It's indeed Naruto if the tapes you recorded are accurate, and they always are. Commander Nijima. Watching more, he could see the intent for more than just disabling his opponents. I see. He has become less constrained as much as it pleases me that he can be corrupted to be more violent. This is not the ideal we stand behind. In his mind, as his alien senses became knowledgeable of every movement, he hummed. Behind his heroic demeanor, the Shinka is trying to gain subordinates with the ideal that we can change the world for the better. To keep the image of an alliance of good-hearted and proud souls, we need our leader, our greatest, to be incorruptible. Nijima, what do we do for Commander Naruto? A moment went by before Nijima stood. Have half our intel squad search for any indication of his location, make sure they keep out of sight, and never have any fighting intent. Watch only, and when we find him, tell our fighters. One of them has to break through to get him to be much more sensible than this. Remember to never get near him. Yes, sir, Commander Nijima. The salute was apparent from everyone in attendance as Nijima walked out to try and visit the next people to tell about this development. The masters will be my trump card to get Naruto back. Until then, I will keep vague but still truthful. He was walking past the training room when he saw Hermit, who was glaring at the young man. Well, if it isn't Hermit. Tell me, what brings you here? Last I checked, you specifically hated the idea of being near the Shinka Alliance. Listen, you alien freak. That got Nijima's attention. There is something you need to know. After a minute of explaining, the antenna of the alien twitched, sensing no lie. So, now you know I'm out, but keep what I said in mind. That fighter from Yomi is their greatest combatant. Naruto's greatest rival so far. Run into him, and it's game over. Nijima smiled. There's still a place here for you, Tanimoto. If you ever change your mind, we will continue to keep the spot open for you. Hard pass. The trained disciple of Kung Fu kept on till he was out of sight. As Nijima processed the information, he hummed. Maybe telling that Chinese girl would help as she's still even here. XXX night. 2 days later XXX. Kasara was on the streets, walking back to HQ. As she returned, she was met with Yukita, which was unusual. He was with Nijima. Been a while, what's up, thrower? Smiling, the sunglass-wearing huge man turned to her. Got a day off. Luckily the masters are busy right now trying to focus on what to do with Naruto. So you've heard. Nodding, the judo expert explained. They've been in talks, apparently trying to find Naruto, and stop him. Their entire idea is to bring him in to talk, but have recently considered breaking some rules to bring him in. Breaking Bonesa. As much as I am less a friend than you or Takeda, he's helped me greatly, and he's been a good guy. I don't want anything bad to happen, so I thought on my day off I would come help, considering Takeda told me he was off to find his master to start training up to face Naruto. As he said, it is to knock some sense into that damned blonde, or so he says. Kasara smiled and put her hands in her pockets. Her usual red shirt and ripped jeans looked sported proudly as she sat next to the others. All right, say we want your help. What can you do to help us out? Well, not much I am afraid, but I did get some information from the masters. The thrower put out a slip of paper. Had to write it down on the spot, but they know he's in the west part of town, just cannot pinpoint his activities. Something about this entire fight with the dark side connected to his past. Taking it instantly, Kasara got it from Nijima and started reading, pushing the alien away as he tried to take it. Reading the paper, Kasara gasped. Nira go to Naruto. She ran out fast, bursting through the doors as Nijima caught the paper and read it. Interesting. Why Kasara though? Why is she so upset over this? He hummed. He read that it was near an animal clinic, and had to figure that this might be one that Kasara knew, thanks to her cat. Running down the streets, the redhead was huffing. Naruto. You remember saving me and my cat. I know you Doa, you are trying to keep good, I know it. Naruto. I'm coming to help you. I care too much for you. XXX nighttime, commercial district. XXX. Sitting in a very dark alley, watching people walk by, the young man remembered fending off these streets. Something in his mind connected to a very old memory. Closing his eyes, he saw the face of an old man with startled eyes, and another man with a mask and eye cover. A fire. It was vague, but after that, he remembered a man extending a hand and then running. Ever since then, he stole from vendors and tried to keep to small petty grocery crime. Until, of course, the elder caught him and forced his hand to come to the dojo. He saw you as another tool and one that he had help in sharpening. A sharp tool to be for his cause. You have every skill to kill anyone you deem necessary of such degrees of force, and yet you continue to hold back your true strength, the strength it would take to stop the very people hurting your friends, your way of life, and of course stealing your beloved Mew from you, after everything she did to be your closest companion, to be welcomed into your heart only to destroy it by not throwing the punk who stole her from us in the first place. You have to know the nice guy act will only ever take you so far, and you need to start hurting those who dare take your life from you. Like that bastard tried to after your very birth. That took Naruto's attention as the voice reverberated into the hatred he started to feel. What? Who? The old man didn't try to hurt me when I was on the streets, neither did Anyanya. I was never threatened with death. Because you don't remember the horrors of that night of the man you saw bleeding during that fire. You suppress the very memory of the event leading you here, into this very life. You must unseal that memory, and understand why you are here, why that flame is not your determination but your fuel for hatred, the thing you should be angry with, and feel the pain for the suffering you had for 3 years since you found yourself stranded in a street being seen as nothing. Grunting and holding his head, the blonde could do nothing but try and suppress the rage and fear, as his memories returned to that image. Again and again, he tried thinking of something that made him smile, the dates with Renka and Mew, the smiles of his friends. Only for Red to enter his vision and make him think of that fire again. Stop, I don't want to. After an hour passed, the night sky clouded, Naruto just shook cold and hungry and was starting to give in. That was until he heard rapid footsteps, someone running and very fast in his direction. Eyes snapping open, he looked in the direction of the sound and stood up to meet the intruder head on. Trained to see in the dark, Naruto didn't take long to notice the figure of a slender woman coming at him, and almost seconds later seeing the details and his eyes went open to see that Kasara was running his way. Not being one to see in the dark, Kasara kept running even though she knew she may eventually trip, or even accidentally run over, or run into and be knocked down by, the blonde fighter she cared for. The problem did not come as expected, as she was met with some sort of movement sound, not like the light steps of the masters. She heard the thump of a shoe hit the ground, and with that she stopped, trying to acclimate her eyes to the area's darkness. Hello, Naruto. Though knowing that his steps were usually lighter, she doubted for a second before seeing a figure in front of her in the darkness of night, one with a spiked-up style of hair. Then the soft, almost inaudible steps came, as the figure got closer until her eyes finally acclimated to notice the features that made the one before her into the one she sought after, the blue eyes and the blondish hair. Kisara, why are you here? Her first instinct was to run up and give him a playful smack, but this was not the man she knew right now. She could tell he was ready for a fight, ready to be struck. You need to ask. I came looking for you. Seeing him not even budge, she scoffed. Like it matters why I am even here when you have been missing in action for a while now. Can't even be bothered to say hey to friends, let alone get back home. What, stealing food off the street or something? That's not like you. You know nothing about me, and you presume to give me a lecture. I was an orphan, you can't even fathom at 3 as a toddler running from grown men and women trying to catch me as I stole from their stalls in the farmer's market downtown. I stole for 3 years to survive, I can do it again if need be. So back to my question, what brings you here for me? Not like it matters. Yes, you do not need friends or anyone to care for. They are only obstacles to your infinite power. Naruto just kept quiet, but Kasara could see he was in distress and could also see he wasn't in the mood for being told how wrong he was, not after what she knew was him being wronged. Lightening her stance, the redhead took a breath and looked around. You know, speaking of the pasta around here, it's where we first met. You saved me and my cat from a very aggressive dog. Every day since all I ever thought was to reach that strength to meet you again. You've heard me say it enough at this point, I wager. Buddha, huffing with amusement, she looked up to the sky. Maybe you need a trip down memory lane. Maybe you need to rethink yourself. Whatever you do now is up to you, but whatever you choose, it needs to be the real you. I cannot even think this is the version of you that saved me, that helped me, that has been good at heart even through Ragnarok. Stress, being betrayed, whatever it was that triggered your change. I want you to know that you are not alone. You are still that kind boy who makes me smile. Looking at him now, the redhead could see no change. Putting her arms out, she took a step forward. And I need to be able to return that sentiment because it's you who made me realize that having those close to you can give you the strength to get even stronger, even greater, and even closer to the righteous individual that you can be proud to stare at in the mirror. Taking another step, she noticed him tense, looking at her much like an opponent. The time went by, Seconds to minutes, and onward still into what felt like an eternity, but in the mind of the woman before him, Naruto could not fathom what he was doing or what she was even trying. But Kasara smiled before standing normally and then shifted into a stance to fight. One thing I learned from you, the most important thing probably a one's true feelings, true self, comes out in the way they fight. So if it means knocking some sense back into your thick skull, let's go Naruto. Kasara yelled as she closed the distance and threw a hard hook. Being in another league in terms of skill and strength was one thing, Naruto held back everything since the moment he started going to that school. Using weights, constricting cloth under clothing, everything to stop himself from accidentally hurting someone beyond repair if a bully got stupid. The unrelenting strength and speed now was nothing like Kasara knew, this was serious and precise, as he blocked the hook up away from his head and then knuckle jabbed into her ribcage, bruising even the bone. Hissing in pain, Kasara flinched for a moment before using the positioning to kick straight up, and then slam back downward at Naruto, missing both times as he ducked back and then diverted the downward heel to the side. This gave Kasara a disadvantaged position, but she skipped back, landing on the recent kicking foot and turned, snapping a back kick at the blonde, only for him to have gotten to her blind spot on the side and punch her in the gut, lifting her in the air and then throwing her onto her back where he once stood. Hissing from the pain, she sat up holding her stomach, opening her eyes to the shock that he had got up and close, fist raised. This was a killing blow if it was actually used. But right at the point of his fist being raised, he stopped himself. His fist was shaking, his breath heavy as if running a mile, his eyes fearfully wide. Kasara could tell, he was fighting himself, fighting something deeper than anything anyone ever saw before. Slowly raising her hand, she smirked, and just before it touched, she flexed into a fist and gently bumped his chest. Too slow. Got a hit in. Relacing her body, she just lay on the ground resting. Naruto, you are the one I care for the most. No matter what happens to me, I will protect that bond. I wonder if you feel the same way right now. Laughing, Kasara could only joke. Probably not. But the time doesn't matter, as long as you'll let me be by your side. The power of only those 2 hits was not enough to truly knock her out, but it was late and she just spent energy on fighting. Kasara passed out with a sigh, feeling safe with Naruto. The dawn was breaking when Kasara woke up finally. She was against the wall, and apparently resting against someone. Looking to the one she was worried she was drooling on, she smiled to see it was Naruto, staring at the sunrise. Setting back on his shoulder, Kasara bent her legs up to her chest and sighed again in content. I'm guessing you're still confused. Silence again, but she was used to it right now. Best not to push it, she thought. Then the blonde asked her something very strange. Yasuhida, I was not the one you knew. But what if there's another me, deep down, trying to break free? What if there's an evil me in my Hida? What if I am not just to this? Laying her head on him, it took a moment of thought. She wiggled up next to him more. Naruto, you can be dense sometimes. It doesn't matter. Whether there's a good you and evil you, whether this has something to do with evil you running amok, you are still the good-hearted blonde super fighter one know from my youth to now. I'll get to know all of you, and support all of you, and love all of you. And never let anyone take me away from you, because of my heart. It belongs only to you, so I will continue to fight with you, and I'll be damned if you try to punch me again because you think I'm a burden. Just you wait until I reach your level, then I'll show you I can be the girl for you, not those 2 cows. Though at first, she was being serious, she went back to her usual self, smiling as she goaded for a reaction to an invisible audience of those she was talking smack about. Though through it all, she kept a soft smile, meaning it in a friendly way. Naruto saw her looking at him, and saw the light in her eyes. Then he turned to the rising sun. Something inside him felt like it was ripping its way out of his stomach, but another part was dulling the pain with his heart beating fast and alive. He smiled softly, a few tears hitting his cheeks. I guess I'll look forward to Ida. The voice in his head chuckled almost inaudible. Just you wait, you'll see, she is nothing more than another piece of the puzzle for you to lose. Ida, she will die trying to be like you, with you, and you will release me in rage. When that happens, you will see the real horrors of being too naive like you do now. I'll bide my time. I've waited since you were just a year old. I can wait a while longer. XXXXXXXX. The morning came and Naruto was at the gates of Ryazanpaku, bowing to his masters. I have some things I need to talk about to get off my chest if you still welcome me back after. What I've done I understand. Hayato stepped forward, putting his hand on the young man's shoulder. Then understand this. There is nothing you can say that will make us see you any different than the boy we've helped raise. If you'll let us in your heart again, we would love nothing more than to welcome you back home.